one more minute. Roz. All right, everyone, welcome to the March 6th meeting of Queens Community Board 2. We'll get started with our pledge if you would like. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. There's a quick agenda, but a few of us, so I would like to announce and remind us all of our golden rule, WAIT, why am I talking? Yeah, just be mindful of the mic and the time. We will get started with comments from representatives of elected officials, starting with Evelyn Lee. You have 2 minutes.
Oh, God. Okay. Hi, everyone. Nice to see everyone again. This is a bit tough for me, but it's okay. I can. Yeah. Oh, okay. I don't know how to do that. But anyway, I don't want to waste everybody's time. Hi, I'm Evelyn Lee from Congresswoman Grisman's office. Nice to see everyone again. And I'll start with only a few things. Last night, as some of you might know, and might be have been there, the Congressman Grisman had a telephone town hall, and we heard everybody's concern, and we totally agree with that, and we are deeply concerned as well. And we are gonna just keep monitoring and seeing what we can do, and definitely try as best as we can to fight against it, whatever the administration is planning to do. And obviously, if you have more concerns, more opinions, please feel free to call us anytime you want. And secondly, last week, the congressman voted against the budget, the House budget, and which would allow deep cuts in Medicaid, children's health insurance programs, SNAP benefits, and increase the healthcare cost. I mean, as we know, unfortunately, it passed in House, and now I think the Senate will not vote on it until like mid-March. We'll watch closely what's going to happen, and we'll just try to fight against it as much as we can, because this is a betrayal to our middle class and working class family, and just prioritize the richest people in the world, just like the people in the administration would care. On a slightly happier note, which should not have happened in the first place, we are happy to know that after the Congresswoman and her colleagues sent a letter to Health and Human Services Secretary, and the administration actually has reversed their previous position on making funding and the staff cuts to the World Trade Center Health Program. And as we know, this program would provide medical monitoring and treatment to eligible firefighters, law enforcement, rescue, recovery, and cleanup workers who responded to the September 11 attack. So we are happy to know that that was reversed at least. And lastly, we were concerned by the Con Edison's proposed double-digit rate hike. That was ridiculous. So that's why the Congresswoman and her colleagues also sent a letter to Con Edison urging against this proposal and also encourage them to identify a better plan. Oh, that's perfect. Actually, sorry, but I lied. Last two things, we have some events coming up, which this weekend, we are opening our office on Saturday, on Saturday in our Forest Hills office. I can send more information later to 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if you don't have time on your weekdays, please come to us, and thank you. Questions? Yes, please.
Who wants to be mic runner?
I'll do it. questions?
Thank you, Carisha. Please sit down. Hi, I'm Sheila Lewandowski.
Hi,
nice
Sheila.
to see you. And this question's for you, but also for Congresswoman Velasquez's office, and I don't see any other you Congress officials here. Is two things. One is in New York State, we have currently 7 Republicans who are voting more along the line on these actions. And on the healthcare one, I know some of those New York representatives do actually care about not cutting Medicaid. So is there anything you could share about what is happening in the New York contingent of Republicans on that? And then the second thing, as someone who founded and runs an art center here in Long Island City, it's Long Island City, Sunnyside, Western Queens, I'm very concerned about the NEA and the NIH. And do you have any additional information on what is happening there, including the, I understand today the court struck down that that they were enforcing the use of language around gender, you know.
Yes.
So do you have any more that you can share about all this?
Unfortunately, thank you, Sheila. Unfortunately, I don't really have much more information to share right now, but I'm happy to talk to our staffers in DC and have them reach back to you. Is that okay? But we do see a lot of, actually, just adding a little bit more in our casework, even on the site, we do see a lot of trouble, like causing trouble in all the language that the administration is changing and causing a lot of potential trouble for our constituents when they are traveling in the future. So this is very concerning because they are receiving their passport apparently, like for instance, they are receiving their passports automatically changing to their gender at birth, which does not match any other official papers. So that's going to be a trouble when they're traveling in the future. And we are trying to talk to the Department of State about that to see if there's anything that you can do. And I'll definitely get back to you. I'll come to you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. Next is Tiffany from Congresswoman Velasquez's office.
All right, good afternoon, CB2. Nice to see you. I have some updates. I'll try to be brief, but you know, with all the federal updates, there's no way to be brief nowadays. But just talk about some local issues that she's been on. On February 19th, she actually hosted an in-person town hall here at Sunnyside Community Services. She had panelists from CUNY School of Law, the Center of Constitutional Rights, New York State Attorney General, Immigrant Justice Corporation, Justice Corps, and National Labor Relations. So it was a quite of a big panel. We have a recording and we also have some slides that I will definitely send on over to you guys so you could take a look if you missed it. It's very in-depth, so you'll definitely you won't miss anything that happened because everything is in the slides. We also have it on her Facebook as well. If you want to see her actually speaking along with the panelists, it is on her Facebook at Nydia Velasquez. This past weekend, she was also at the St. Pat's for All parade. She spoke out against Trump, basically erasing all of the LGBTQIA protection from federal websites and all of the funding for HIV and AIDS programs. So, you know, Trump is basically trying to wipe out all of that funding. So she spoke out against that because it is completely ridiculous. She, you know, basically just reassures that she's fighting for any type of discriminatory and unjust policies in the courts and in state legislation as well. She's reassuring that she is with you. She hears you and she's taking action. Votes. Just like Office of Meng said, she also voted no against the budget as it has cuts for human health services such as Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and food assistance programs. On March 14th, that is when the congressional budget is due. So right now we are determining, will we have a government shutdown or will the Senate basically say, all right, here is a continuing resolution to fund the government. Lastly, the Congresswoman sent a letter with her congressional colleagues to Republicans on the Ways and Means Committee saying, just to reconsider the proposed cuts that they have in terms of all of the children programs that would eliminate free schools, lunches and breakfasts. Why would they do that? We don't know. The Congresswoman is fighting. Lastly, we definitely urge you to just look on the Congresswoman's Twitter because she is tweeting every single day about all the updates. Her handle is Nydia Velasquez. Okay, any questions? No worries.
Did you have anything to add to this?
Yes, so I know that she signed on to a letter in regards to NIH cuts, but I don't have that off the top of my head. But I could definitely give updates to the board and you as well for like any of the updates.
Thank you, Sheila, again. So it's not just the NEA, and there is a policy that they were putting forward at the NEA that in order to even apply for funding, qualify for funding from the NEA, you had to sign something saying that you would abide by the laws that are in opposition to participating in any DEI, EDI, any of those. So that was made as a qualifier to apply, and that was shut down for now in the courts, and just looking for any new information because and the NEA, arts funding is critical. So if you had any more information about that, that would be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely follow up via email because I want to get this information out before the next meeting. So I'll definitely do that. All right, any questions, concerns? All right, I have flyers over here for the next Know Your Rights, which is on Saturday, and in my card as well. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Tiffany. Mercedes from Senator Naris's office.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mercedes Jennings. I'm the Community Liaison for State Senator Michael Generis. Before I start, I just want to give everyone a big thank you for last month. I was dealing with some health issues, and I appreciate the opportunity to have been online to provide information to everyone from the Senator's office. I just want to say thank you for that. Just a few updates. One of the legislations I informed you last month that the Senator is really pushing for to honor those that are still displaced for the Sunnyside fires. That legislation with his advocacy has just been presented in committee for the Assembly as well. So both the Senate and the Assembly are trying to pass this legislation. And we also got an email from Julie Wan's office who's trying to also find a way where she can support it as well. So we're hoping that this will be a legislation that will pass this session. And he's really been on top of that. So I just wanted to let everyone know that. In addition to that, Foundation aid is another one that the Senator has really been working hard to advocate for. Governor Hochul has unfortunately passed a proposal using SAIP, which is SAIPE. Basically, it doesn't take into account regional income index. So for New York City, that's a problem. And if that passes, schools will lose up to $350 million. The Senator is not for that. As you're aware, the Senator, since 2012, when the lawsuit started to have fair funding for schools, he was one of the biggest advocates until it passed, and he still supports 100% funding for public schools. I just wanted to let everyone know that as well. Sorry, my phone keeps going back and forth. Also, the Senator on Sunday, this past Sunday, was at St. Pat's for All, and he publicly announced his support for the LGBTQAI community. And also is against any cuts of programs that Washington is trying to propose and hopefully won't trickle down to everyone here, especially when it comes to education, housing, you name the list. You already know, pretty much Medicaid also. Other than that, our office is working diligently to try to set up 4 DMV, Real ID events. I'm hoping I can get that done before the end of this month so that we have 4 events available for those in our constituency to get connected to getting their IDs before May, which the new law now institutes that if you want to go into a federal building or fly domestically, that you need a real ID. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Are there any questions? Hi.
Hi. So I know I'm not in the district anymore, but I'm asking this of the Deputy Majority Leader.
Sure.
And I know the budget is due in about 3 weeks.
Yes.
And we all know that the federal government is trying to cut Medicaid, SNAP,
Everything.
everything that many people in this community need and need. And we will fight like hell to stop that, but I'm not sure we can. So what is the Deputy Majority Leader doing with his considerable power to make sure the state budget picks up the slack and funds those programs through perhaps taxing the wealthiest New Yorker, because New York is a beacon of democracy and economics and certainly billionaires?
Well, as you know, through past years in legislation that the senator, and he's also been open about it, he's always supported trying to find legislation to tax the rich, to make sure that programs like education, like I know one of the major things we've been getting calls about our office is how we're gonna fund children who have IEPs, children with special needs. I myself, disclosure, have a child with autism. So programs like that affect all of us. And he has continuously, and that's why he's going crazy trying to make sure that there's funding for Foundation A, that there's funding for Medicaid, and that there's no cuts to these programs. And we actually have been getting a lot of constituents contacting our office and letting us know, listen, we cannot have cuts for this, we cannot have cuts for Medicaid, we cannot have cuts for education, we cannot have cuts for LGBTQAI programs, especially when it comes to healthcare. We need those things, and those things he has continuously showed support and he is fighting for.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How are you?
Hi, good, very well, thank you. I know that the senator has been a champion for building public power and publicly owned renewable power in New York. I wonder where the progress on that is right now, considering we have a Democratic governor and Democratic Senate and Assembly. We suffered drought conditions in New York last year.
Yes.
Climate change is happening and catastrophe is coming, so we need to build more sustainable energy, and with Con Ed rates going up, we need more publicly owned power.
Agreed. Well, two things. One, last session, he passed the Clean Air Act, so that affects how companies like distribute their waste, and that's gonna cut the waste, I think, by 30% from what I remember from the legislation. In addition to that, I actually just got an email today because prior to the senator, our district change, he was in full support of the Ravenswood power plant changing so it provides all clean air, and they actually contacted our office to see if he's continuous to sign off on that. So even though there's certain parts of the area that's not in his district, he still gets emails asking for his support, and he's shown support in that capacity.
Okay, thank you. We'd love to see you work on that.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thanks, Mercedes. Next is Shana from Senator Gonzalez's office.
Hello, CB2. My name is Shauna Morlock. I'm the Director of Community Affairs for State Senator Kristen Gonzalez. She wishes to extend Ramadan Mubarak for all that observe, and also hope everyone has a blessed Lent season as well. As we all know, congestion pricing is now in effect, and our office has been getting quite a few calls around it still. So we just wanted to open up a space for anyone who has questions about it. Please do feel free to reach out. We're happy to answer whatever questions we can and be a liaison between the MTA for ones that we don't know. We're also going to be sending a survey to all of the community boards in our group just to hear back from you how you think that this is working for you, for your travel plans, for your work plans. We'd really love to hear from you guys more deeply. So we've just submitted our office's executive budget request for the governor, and the senator is fighting really hard for funds to come back to the district, and there's still time to submit a request for discretionary and capital funds before April 15th. So you can come and see me afterwards for the email to make those requests. We're going to have our monthly office hours event at Astoria Houses on the fourth Monday of this month from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Astoria Houses Community Center. We also are now hosting a monthly tenant legal clinic with Communities Resist. We've been doing it monthly with the Greenpoint our district, and it's been incredibly helpful. If you have issues with your landlord, or you have any questions about the good cause eviction legislation, things like that, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to help to facilitate this relationship. So we have recently toured the Court Square subway station to see the new accessibility upgrades. We're super excited to see that. We're really hoping that, oh my gosh, that was so quick, wow. Yeah, so yeah, we're really happy with the accessibility upgrades. We're hoping the escalators are working better. I know that they were trash for a while, so. But yeah, we've got a not a legal clinic, the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, the commissioner of the DCWP is going to do a tax event with our office on March 15th at the new Sunnyside Community Center on Vernon Boulevard. So come out on the 15th to check in. We've got the flyers over here as well. I could go on, but I'm just going to take some questions. Hi, yes, please. Oh, sorry.
Hi, Sheila again.
Hi,
Tom.
Sheila.
So 2 questions. One is New York had incentives for people to convert their homes to all electric.
Yes.
I will just say, as someone who is looking for that, I had a lot of trouble actually tracking it down. So does it still exist?
Well, we recently submitted, we just got a bill passed called the GAP Fund.
Okay.
And that essentially is helping homeowners to get the funds that they need in order to upgrade their homes for energy
So I'll
compliance.
reach out.
Yes,
And
please
maybe
reach
share
out.
that link with the office so they can.
Absolutely,
share.
yes.
The other thing is just something came to mind to me. I don't know if this is state for consumer protection issue, and I thought about bringing it up, and also the deputy majority leader, if it's state, is I noticed when people order things online. Now, I don't order a lot of things online, but very often the cost to return, to ship it back, that you are charged to return something far exceeds the actual cost of shipping. And so, do you get where I'm going with this?
Yes, yes.
So very often things get returned because, and so I'm just wondering if there, from consumer protection perspective, if it could be equal to the cost of shipping as opposed to an excess of the cost of shipping.
I would be more than happy to take that idea back to our legislative team. I mean, I hadn't even really considered that. I mean, I know that a lot of places it's one extreme or the other, right? It's like
Right.
free shipping or it's like $17. So yes, I fully agree that that definitely is a burden on especially people that are like moderate or low income. And yeah, it makes it so that you're.
And then people just have stuff piling up.
Yeah, it's expensive to be poor, right?
Yeah,
Well, one of those things, yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
This is Jamie from Assemblyman Raga's office.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. My name is Jamie. I have a bit of updates, but I'll try to be speedy and concise. The first one is, as you all may be familiar with already, the Assembly and Senate are currently in budget negotiations. So the Assembly member is really pushing for funding for Mitchell Lamas, especially Big Six in our district. Thank you. He's been partnering with Assemblymember Reyes to really highlight this issue. He's really hopeful. So hopefully it gets in the one house and the enacted. He's also been really pushing for the medical debt alleviation program. So a $15 million investment for $1.5 billion forgiven for New Yorkers. So very excited. We do have we have a lot of free upcoming events. So the first one is our free tax preparation services. We host them every week on Saturdays. You can make an appointment from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you'll have a 1-hour appointment with a certified tax preparer, and you're able to get the maximum refund you're able to get. And as well, if you do qualify for government programs, they can actually help you with that. So it's really great partnership with Urban Upbound. Another one is that we have a homeowner benefits program enrollment event that's going to be happening on Monday, March 10th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. This will be to help y'all apply for SKI and D. If you want to make an appointment, you actually can come find me and I can put you in our system because I'm top. And the other one is we have a free health screening, so blood pressure, BMI, vision, hearing, COVID test, flu test, in partnership with United Way NYC and Common Points and CISA Picari. on March 12th from 12:30 to 3 p.m. in Roosevelt Avenue. The address is 6710 Roosevelt Avenue. I can also give you that afterwards. And two more. We'll be hosting MTA Fairs enrollment on Wednesday, March 12th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the 74th Street Station in Jackson Heights, Roosevelt Station, in partnership with the MTA, Assemblymember Cruz, and Assemblymember Jessica Gonzalez Rojas. And we'll also be hosting our Women of Distinction Award ceremony on Saturday, March 22nd from 1 to 4 p.m. at Elmhurst Hospital. We'll love to see y'all there. We also have been having a lot of mobile office hours throughout the entire district because we do understand there's a lot of transit deserts and we want to make sure, and our office is also in Maspeth, which is hard for our constituents, you know, in Elmhurst, Jackson Heights, and want to make sure we're accessible to all. So our upcoming ones will be at the Queens Public Library in Elmhurst from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. March 6th. I think that was today. And then we'll also have one Wednesday, March 12th at the Queens Public Library in Woodside from 2 to 4 p.m. We'll have another one on the 13th at Queens Public Library in Maspeth, 3 to 5 p.m. And then we'll have one on the 18th, Queens Public Library in Jackson Heights from 2 to 4 p.m. The last thing I want to mention is, y'all may have seen, the Assembly member is also a huge advocate of the automated camera curb enforcement program. This will make sure that our pedestrians, especially those with, thank you, pedestrians with wheelchairs, with canes, families with strollers, to make sure it's safer streets. There's a lot of cars, especially throughout the district. We've been hearing a lot from Maspeth and Woods in particular, where it's like triple parking, quadruple parking, and it's really hard to navigate, especially when the bus comes. And the Assembly member really wants to push for this session and make sure we're targeting high fatality and high congestion zones. This is already existing law. You could get a ticket if you're double parking. So right now, what we're trying to do is we're in the process of amendments where we all understand that our streets are narrow, it's congested. If you need to pick up, you know, your kids, if you need to pick up grandma, if you need to take her quickly to the clinic, a 5-minute grace period before the tickets are enforced. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you. Okay, great, thank you.
Oh, wait,
one
question.
Yes.
I don't really, not a question, just a compliment. Maybe the question is, could we strong-arm the Assembly member to come and speak to us, maybe in one of our committees, to explain his bill? Because he was one of us.
And I think he'd be more than happy to do that, so let's catch it up. Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
I can't make the invitation.
The Assembly member loves coming to community board events, so I think he'd be happy to touch base. So if you all want it, we can touch base offline for the next date. He is in Albany, like usually Monday to Thursday, but if it's Zoom, he should be able, we could block out some stuff. Oh, great, even perfect, okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. And next is our debut from Assembly member Claire Valdez. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Steph McGraw. I am the Chief of Staff for the new Assembly member Claire Valdez. We're in our third month in office now. Just so everyone knows, we are in previous office, the office that our predecessor was in on Skillman Avenue, and we are open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6 on Mondays through Thursdays, and then Friday we're open 10 to 5. And maybe less relevant for the folks in this room, but we're also doing monthly mobile office hours in Ridgewood at the Ridgewood Library. Our first one is this Saturday, so if that works better for your schedule from 10 to noon, our Constituent Services Director, Carlos, will be there. It is state budget season, as everyone has alluded to. The Assembly member has spent a lot of time advocating for resources for the people of this district, and as Gianaris's office mentioned, we are the prime sponsor of the bill that was inspired by the Sunnyside fire, and she has put that down as one of her top bill priorities for this year and is pushing for it with her colleagues, so we're working hard on that. In terms of things happening in the district, St. Pat's for All, she was there, we marched, she spoke there and spoke about the importance right now of protecting our LGBTQ communities and also protecting our immigrant communities. And to that end, our office teamed up with the organization Make the Road recently to host a Know Your Rights training and plan do more in the future. Also, we plan to just, continue to stay abreast of everything going on and making sure that, our office can provide the resources that our community needs to keep our neighbors safe. And I guess my remarks were shorter than everyone else's, so it didn't go off. First meeting, apologies. Great.
Questions?
All right, thank you.
Well, and Farah from Councilmember One's office.
Good evening, everyone. Ramadan Mubarak to everyone who celebrate, and I hope everyone had a wonderful Lent yesterday. I'm going to try to keep this really short, but I do have quite a few updates. So I know there are a few people here who are here because of the Playscape issue at the Q Studio Lab on 46th Street. We've been in contact with the DOB, and we've been working with the educational director. DOB gave me a call literally right before I came here, saying that they're going to be continuing to work with Lauren to make sure that the Playscape has its appropriate permits and students can go back to playing on the Playscape and not go to Luludati Park. We'll have more updates as they're available, and I'll be keeping Lauren updated as well as any parent who has reached out to us. Since January, our office received multiple complaints about a Sunnyside dog owner who had trained their dog to bite several of our neighbors. Our office has been informed this morning that the owner was arrested. The dog, unfortunately, is being held at an ASPCA location. However, the dog will hopefully be retrained to not bite people. And we would like to just thank the neighbors who alerted our office with regards to this, because we know that a lot of people were afraid of walking down Skillman and 43rd Avenue. Our office also met with DOT recently regarding the crash that happened in front of Court Square earlier this week. DOT will be looking into street safety in that area. There was a person who was injured, but even though he suffered a lot of injuries, he is responsive and he is in stable condition. We want to thank the first responders who are on scene, and we're grateful that there are no fatalities. We continue to have our Communities Resist housing lawyer in our office. He'll be in office on March 10th, March 24th, April 7th, and April 21st. If anyone would like to book an appointment with him, he does one-on-one appointments with folks. Please reach out to me or our office, and I'll be happy to set that up for you. As there continue to be changes at the federal level, our office continues to provide support for community members by organizing KYRs. We had last month, and other resources, such as referrals to immigration lawyers. We've been taking cases as they come in throughout the day. Okay, I have one legislative update. So on February 25th, Councilmember One and Councilmember Farias co-hosted a hearing examining the quality of food in our shelters, focusing on nutritional content, the condition of food served in shelter, and the compliance with religious dietary needs for New Yorkers who live in shelter. The hearing came after 1 year and 2 months after a December 2023 hearing that examined poor food quality in many city-operated emergency shelters. Despite that hearing, we continue to hear from folks that there have been issues with the food, and we have heard from Muslims who live in the shelters that their food continue to not be halal or do not meet halal dietary restrictions. So Councilmember One held a hearing where hoping that shelters work to make food halal for the residents there, because it's so important, even with the Ramadan being now and even after Ramadan, that any New Yorker who lives in shelter who has a dietary need, that they get food that they can eat, that is edible, and that meets their dietary needs. And then one last thing, it's participatory budgeting season. Vote week is at the end of March, March 29th to the first week of April. We are taking volunteers. If you're interested in helping us spread the word, collect votes, please contact me or the district office at District 26, council.nyc.gov, and we'll set you up to come and help volunteer with us. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, I saw on Instagram, to be honest, that the council member had a bill that was trying to keep ICE out of shelters.
Yes.
I may be getting it not exactly right. Did it advance?
So there's a lot of bills that are still in they haven't passed, they haven't advanced, they have to go through hearing process. And so it will take some time, but once we have updates on that, I'll definitely update everybody at the board.
Or the need for some advocacy from constituents. Happy
We'll
to do that.
definitely do that as well.
Hi.
Hi.
So first want to thank the council member for being at the museum today to stand there against cuts.
Right.
Do you have any, it wasn't clear, she's standing against cuts at the city level, state level, and the federal level? Because I mean, all of those are really affecting the arts right now.
Right. I would have to get more clarity on that, but I know that Councilmember One is fighting against cuts in general because it is budget season, and she's fighting against the city cuts. There's not a lot that she can do at the state or federal level, but at least at the city level, there's a lot that she can advocate
Well, I
for.
appreciate that she was out there fighting for Brooklyn Museum and the workers there, because all, big and small, the arts is really suffering right now.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Hey, two-part question. If there is any development on securing a site for a park in the Southside Blissville area, and secondary, if any funding will be, if she's looking to allocate any funding for that in the current budget.
So I know that with Parks Department, we just have to get, there's still, even though we submitted locations to them at this point, I believe it was 2 years ago. I remember being pregnant up here when we announced that. We still have been working with parks to determine what plots of land are usable, because there's a lot of guidelines that go with that. And so once that plan goes into place, then it can go through a budget process.
Do you know at what point in the process, just because it was 2 years ago when that survey went out, so.
Yeah, I will touch base with our land use team. I know that this has been a question. I just haven't gotten any answers, and I know that they're still looking for answers on that. So once we get updates, I'll definitely share those, because I know everyone here is really excited to learn more about that.
On the subject of parks, the plot on the corner of 50th Street and 39th Avenue was designated for a park.
Yes.
10 years ago, I think the city bought it. 5 years ago, I think they put it out for design. Any idea what's happened, if they decided to forget it or what?
No, they didn't forget about it. We actually got an update from Parks recently. I don't have those updates at the top of my head, but I know that it's going to be moving forward. We might start to see some construction sometime soon. I'll get the exact timeline for you from the Parks Department, or from our Parks Department liaison, and we'll share that at next community board meeting, but also email it to you.
Thank you.
Steve, I did just see them last week cleaning up at Lieutenant Michael Davidson Park, and I believe on the capital projects tracker or something on Parks and Rec, they're out of the procurement phase. So they're in the next, I think, construction phase.
Okay, thank you.
Farah, Claire from Queensborough Hall. And then David and Matthew.
Hi guys, my name is Claire Collins. I'm the Queensborough, I'm the Community Board 2 liaison from Queensborough President Donovan Richards. So we have some events I'm going to announce. On Tuesday, March 11th, we're having our Holy celebration at Queensborough Hall, like the holiday, holy, you know. And then on March 26th, we're gonna have our Irish American Heritage Cultural Celebration at Queensborough Hall at 6 p.m. And then on April 3rd at 12 p.m., we're gonna have the salute to the Gold Star spouses ceremony. So if you know anyone who they lost their spouse in combat, we're having that ceremony for them. That's at 12 on April 3rd. And then that same day, from 6 to 8 p.m. is our college and university fair, and that's going to be at Richmond High School. You can RSVP to any of these events at queensbp.nyc.gov. I want to make sure we stay on schedule. So if you have questions for me, I'm going to be sitting back there. Yeah.
Oh, we got two people in within a minute. Thank you. David from Science and Community Services.
Don't worry, so I won't need a timer. I'm going to be very brief. I have two announcements to make. We've got to get this fixed. That's on us. Apologize. We'll take care of that. Thanks very much. So yes, good evening, everyone. My name is David Espinosa. I have two announcements to make. And the first being that on behalf of Judy Zangwell, our executive director, she'd like to just send a message that we here at Sunnyside Community Services are monitoring the developments at the federal level and working with our partners to do everything that we can to support our community, our clients, our employees, whether it's through Know Your Rights sessions or guidance, and that we're doing everything that we can to keep our community safe. So we just wanted to share that message. And secondly, volunteering at SCS. SCS, we're always in need of volunteers, individuals who can generously donate a few hours each week in our programs. We always are in need of that support. And so we invite you, if you know of someone who is interested in volunteering, we invite you to visit our website and look up volunteer services, and all the contact information is there. And please call us if you are. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you. No time.
Thanks, David. And Matthew from Chaya.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Matthew, the Base Coalition organizer at Chaya CDC. First, I would just like to say thank you to the Community Board's Land Use Committee and the chair for drafting and signing a letter to DOB and HPD after the conversations we've had about how important it is to have the community involved throughout this process of having the basement apartment conversion program come out. On top of that, we are going to have a town hall around basement apartments, where we'll be bringing everyone up to date on the legislation, but it'll also be a space to share your concerns and basically share your stories. I'm personally a basement tenant, so this problem really hits home for me. It's 2 weeks from now in this exact same room at the exact same time also, funnily enough, and on Thursday. So basically the exact same thing. I hope to see you all there. I have some flyers over there as well. I'm sure I could leave some here. But yeah, I just want to say thank you again to the Land Use Committee. It's a really important step in showing that the community really needs to be involved, and the city can't just do this in a vacuum. It won't work that way. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. I don't see any more representatives from elected officials or our community partners. So I'm going to move ahead to public comment. It was a good update from Councilmember Warren's office, but let's take the time to make a public comment. So I'm going to call Julia Foreman. Please come off of please make a comment on Zoom. Then Lauren, and then Alice Davis.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to speak. I'm sorry to not be able to be there with you all tonight. As many of the people that I saw in the audience are in today to speak about, I am a parent of a 3K student at the Q Studio Lab location on 46th Street. And unfortunately, complaints were made that led to our school's jungle gym being put out of commission. There is no structural issue that we've heard of. There is no safety issue. It really seems to just be someone complaining and a permitting issue. I am so glad to hear that Councilmember Wan's office has been able to work with DOB and Lauren to get to a resolution. The reason why I still want us all to be speaking with you guys on the community board is I would love for there to be some sort of bolstering of support to make sure that this process goes along quickly, and that the kids can get back to climbing now that the weather is getting warmer. One of the reasons why I chose Q is because of the wonderful outdoor space and Lauren's focus on physical, mental, and emotional learning. Their ability to climb and use their bodies in different ways is so important, and any help that the community board can give, whether it be a letter to DOB or having a meeting with them and maybe inviting some of the parents, would be wonderful. I'll let other people speak, but if anyone has questions, I am standing on a street corner, happy to answer any.
Thanks, Julia. Lauren?
Oh, and a quick shout out to my girl, Yuan.
So hi, I'm Lauren. I run the Q Studio Lab, and we're here tonight. It's because our children are important and our families are important in our community. And one of the concerns we have is specifically about our play structure, but more importantly to me is about the Department of Buildings. Because my feeling is that the Department of Buildings has really increased the amount of pressure they're putting on small businesses that serve our community and actually making it very difficult to resolve issues that they bring to us. And in this case, they are affecting the well-being of more than 75 families in our community. So we've been really happy to work with Councilwoman Wan to look at what needs to be done, but it's also really difficult right now when the Department of Buildings doesn't have clear policies or procedures in place, and then comes to ding you for something that they think you should know. So we've had a very difficult time, and my hope is our amazing community and community board can actually help get the Department of Buildings to be accountable to our community for not just, we've gotten 3 different violations on exactly the same thing without giving us space, time, or information about how to resolve those issues. And that is very concerning to me as we look at really our community and how we work together. So that is what I'm hoping you can help us with. Thank you all for being here, all the amazing families.
Thank you for coming, and I hope the problem gets worked out quickly. But for those of us that aren't familiar with the facility, can you just describe where the space is and where the climbing structure is?
Of course. So we have been at All Saints Church for the last 17 years, and we've had programming there. So the structure itself is actually in the back garden with a gate that's around it. For 12 years without the Department of Buildings ever indicating we needed a permit, without the Department of Health ever saying we needed anything. And both agencies simultaneously suddenly appeared with a violation. And that was part of our concern, going, but we don't know how to resolve it. And no one has been able to tell us how. So that's been the bureaucracy eating its own tail.
So it's an outdoor on-grade space with just a climbing structure that
Correct.
they suddenly decided was in violation.
Yes, and it was a prefabricated structure. So it's not something we built.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's incredible.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear all of it, so I apologize, but one of the things I'm just recommending is that you get some kind of a sign-on letter of support from community members who are using it. Because my spidey sense always gets a little odd when stuff like that happens all of a sudden. So lots of community support for what it is that you've been doing and are doing for a while, so that if anything that comes next.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Lauren. Oh, wait, sorry. You had a question, Patrick?
Yeah, my question is just, what is the ask in particular?
Yeah, I think our big ask is that, 2 asks I have. One is that we need support. I really feel like we're getting targeted at the moment by the Department of Buildings. And I have concerns, as I've been talking to other small business owners, that the Department of Buildings has been doing the same thing to them in terms of the inspectors that come in. I don't know what else to ask for, except that we need the community to actually hold DOB accountable. And that's part of what we've been asking Councilwoman Wan's office to do to help us with that. This feels, as you were saying, very strange. I've been in this community for 17 years and we've never had this issue with DOB. So.
Wait, I have a quick question. Sorry. Oh, no.
Board member.
So what's the exact nature of the violation that they're citing you for?
They're saying that we need a permit for a prefabricated climbing structure. And it's not anything. And so when I asked what kind of permit do we need, no one could tell me the name of the permit. But they could give me another violation for not having a permit. There's no work being done. Nothing's happening to it. There's no change of use. It's just a structure for the kids to play.
Thank you. That was going to be my question. If we're able to figure out what type of permit and how to for you to acquire that, is there any concern about being able to, I guess, pay for that permit or go through that permitting process? Or is that something you also need support in specifically?
Well, I think one of the challenges is each time we get dinged with a violation for something we're trying to figure out how to resolve, it's a $1,200 fine. So, you know, we're getting paid by the city. We don't make money on this, you know, and I don't have in our budget $5,000 for a site survey and the violations getting dinged and taking something down and putting it back up. So it's undue for us of like, we're just trying to run a center. So yes, the financial burden of it has been placed back on us, even though we hadn't been given guidance about it.
Okay, so specifically, if the violations due to lack of information in the process, if the violations were waived, but then your business was able to get the permit,
right?
That would be okay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're not against getting a permit. We just were never told we needed one, and
Understood.
now no one could tell us what kind.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
I'm gonna let Lauren off the hook over here. Thanks. Alice, and then if you wouldn't mind lining up over here, Audrey Lee, Courtney Germain, and Daniel A.
Thank you. Have my notes on my phone. My name is Alice Davis, and I've lived in this neighborhood for 10 years. I have a 6-year-old at PS 150, and I also have a 3-year-old at Q Studio. And I'm also here to talk about the playground issue at Q Studio. We're very grateful for Councilmember Wan's help in resolving this issue, but we are still here to ask the board for help intervening with the DOB because we believe it is heavy-handed and counterproductive for them to be repeatedly fining a school that receives city 3K and pre-K funding. These are, as many of you know who might be parents in this neighborhood, 3K programs are actually a very limited resource. And so when you make it difficult for schools to function and serve the community by taking away from pay that would otherwise go to teachers or to school programming or to school supplies, then you hurt the stock of 3K program for everyone. And it seems frankly unjust to hurt the school and to hurt the children and, you know, take money from their school supplies or just prevent them from playing on their play structure for what has come to us so far to be a very uncertain kind of nebulous. And so that's what we are asking for the board is to essentially, if possible, assist with the DOB and make it, I mean, if you could waive the fines, or if we get the DOB to waive the fines, that would actually, I think, be an ideal result here. And that's all I have to say, so thank you.
I just assumed it was Sorry, this is just a procedural question, but so far is it all being handled on a borough DOB level? Because my understanding is that the Queens DOB is not the most progressive side of the DOB, and if you could, even if the council member could get you in touch with the central get you an ombudsman or somebody to just help
Yeah.
answer all your questions and resolve things.
So my understanding is, and Lauren is over there nodding at me, that yes, right now it's a Queens DOB issue.
So if it's possible to take it upstairs, it might get resolved more quickly. I don't know, that's just a guess.
I think I speak for Lauren here to say that she's very interested in these kinds of suggestions and this kind of assistance.
Laura, do you want, sorry, Lauren, do you?
Yes, yes, she says.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Alice.
Thanks.
Audrey Lee? And then Louisa? Are you here? Louisa L? Yep.
Hi, everybody.
2 minutes, go.
I have 2 minutes. Okay. I'm Audrey Lee. I came up here just to speak as a parent. I'm actually getting an education in local government and how it runs tonight. This is my first community board meeting. Thank you guys for what you do for us. Thanks. And also thank you so much to Councilmember Wan's office. We are so grateful for your advocacy for us. I just want to say, I'm a parent. My 3-year-old, Yewan, she's a proud penguin. Hi, Yewan. She brought a sign today. It says, "This is not normal." Yewan she loves her school. She's been there since she was 2. She's absolutely blossomed here. What the school does, it works. It's an amazing school. And a big part of that is, their focus on having time outdoors, using your body. I can't give you guys the research on why outdoor time is good for kids, but it has mental, physical, emotional benefits. And it is hard as a parent in New York City to meet that need for your kid. It's hard here. We live in small apartments, and the play structure at the school is it's a huge blessing. So all the parents tonight, we came out in support of it. We brought our kids, and you guys know it is past bedtime. So this is really important to us. The older you get, the more tired you get. So you forget what it's like to be a kid, but I can tell you they have energy and they need to let it out somewhere. And this play structure has really helped all of us. So that's all I wanted to say. There's so many representatives tonight from elected officials. Please help us advocate for this. It's really important to us. Q Studio has been in the community for 17 years. It's not just about the families that are there today. It's about all the families that they have served. It's about all the families that they'll serve in the future. Please, help us and lend your support in advocating for this play structure to remain in place, to reverse the fines, because, it's a school, Yeah, so please help us to get it to remain in place, to get the permit and to reverse the fines. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Luisa Lemi. I'm also a proud parent of the Q Studio. I have some of the students here with me. Some of them graduated from the pre-K already and know that play structure well. My kids are 6 and 4. The youngest has been in the school since last year. And just like our another mom that talked, they have really blossomed there with the outside space. I want to echo all the parents that are here and that are on Zoom, and thank everyone for coming, because this is important. The school has been fined now multiple times. There hasn't been time for the school to respond to this so-called valuation for something that has been in place for almost 2 decades. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense in the parents' mind as well. The jungle gym, the jungle gym is a fun place. The kids are unable to use the jungle gym right now. The jungle gym now, it's closed. It's a kind of a sad sighting when we pass by now. And it's a fundamental part of the day for these kids who are part of this community. So we're, yes, asking for the fines to be taken off, for the community to support the school. This is a small place that is serving the community for so long. And the DOB doesn't need to keep finding the school. So thank you so much for council member to help us. The administration is trying to comply to everything that is needed this time to file for whatever permit and paperwork needed to be in compliance. And we shouldn't have to take kids, take the structure down and then put it up during this process. I think there is some bureaucracy and they want the structure to be removed from the school while they are filing the permit or where this process is happening. Meanwhile, kids are unable to go outside and play and climb. So I just wanted to echo all the parents and, let's direct the city resources to what is important and what is pressing in the city and support 3K, which is a very rare resource in the city. So thank you.
Wait.
Yes.
I just have to ask your young advocates, first timers at the community board, can you guys come up?
Yes, it's a
forward.
super nice exercise.
And so can you tell us your names and tell us if you love the school?
Can you
They haven't signed up though. You gotta.
Guys, you can say your name. Did you play at the Q Studio?
Yes.
Yes. Did you like the Jungle Gym?
Yes.
Yes. Can you say thank you, council members? Thank you, elected officials.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, community board.
Thank you.
Thank you, DOB.
Thank you.
Let's do their job. Yay.
Daniel, you have to top that. And then after Daniel, Alicia G, Francesca A, Marco Aurelio.
Hi, my name is Dan Abadamarco. I'm a Sunnyside resident for 12 years. I'm also a parent of a student at the Q Studio Lab. My fellow parents and students have, I think, made the case very thoroughly. The ask is clear. We're just really hoping that DOB can help an institution that helps our community and helps our kids. There's enough challenges for these kinds of 3K programs already. So, I'm not going to just go ahead and repeat everything that's already been said, but if it's possible for, in addition to the help that we've already had from Councilmember Juan, if Assemblymember Valdez and Senator Janaris have any ability to sort of ask the DOB to help us figure out how to get this resolved as quickly as possible and with as little additional resource requests from the school as possible, that would be so greatly appreciated by all of us and all of our families. Thanks.
Yeah, my only question that is coming up when I'm hearing all this is the DOB just saying that it's just an issue of never having a permit, or are they saying that they have to make sure it's safe? What is the issue?
So my understanding from Lauren is that there are no safety or structural issues at all. It's just the absence of a permit that's needed.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Oh, this is really tall. Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia. I'm also a parent of a child at the Q Studio Lab. She's really, really cute. Maury can attest to that. I'm here, we're all here because of the DOB responding to the complaint that led to an inspection that required our school's jungle gym to be essentially taken out of commission. Our children are currently unable to use it. They're unable to climb and to slide, and there is no substitute for a safe outdoor play space for children. In addition to being a mom, I'm a pediatric speech language pathologist, and I can give you the research on how outdoor play and nature-based play and the embodiment of learning for children is vital to their academic, cognitive, and language development. There is just no other way to say that, and a program that has been providing that to so many families in this community for so many years and will continue to do so it is, not being able to have that is really, really important. So I really hope that, community board, elected officials can all really help us advocate for getting this play space back so that our children can have the embodied learning experiences they deserve this spring and this summer and moving forward. It is, I feel like my parental responsibility to be here to advocate for this for my daughter, but it's also my professional and ethical responsibility to advocate for all children to have these experiences, to be embodied in learning. So, thank you.
Question, there's a question for you.
How many violations have there been and over what period of time?
That I'm not sure, 2 or 3, there have been 2? 3. How many violations?
How many violations?
3.
Over what period of time? Over what period of time?
Sorry, wait for the mic. Yeah, please, yeah.
We got, the first violation was in November of 23, and then it kept getting kicked in oath until we could actually present to a judge, like, this is the problem that we're having with DOB. During that period of time, DOB could not give us guidance of what we needed to resolve the issue. At the oath hearing, the judge said, well, you do need a permit, it sounds like, by DOB. So we looked into it with DOB, who could not tell us what permit we needed. While we were in the process of doing that, which was in January of this year, 2 weeks later, after getting that oath resolution, we got another hit by DOB. Then we called the Department of Health for help and said, we don't know how to meet this need in this permit. And the Department of Health said, well, since DOB gave you a violation, we have to give you a violation also. So it was like, okay, well, we called you for help to resolve this. And they said, well, you can resolve our violation when you resolve the Department of Buildings violation. So that's the loop we're in currently. The guidance we were given is, well, you need to just take down the structure and take the kids to Skillman Park. You shouldn't use outside because that'll be the answer to your problem. Because they're a regulatory agency under the daycare licensing. So they're who our guidance comes from, typically. Article 47 is who guides daycares in the city. And there is no guidance around, like, we follow the playground structure guidance there, but there's no indicator in Article 47 that you need a permit by the Department of Buildings. And under the admin articles in the Department of Buildings, the only guidance it gives is no permit is necessary for a playground outside 2- or 3-story residential structure. But there is no guidance for commercial playgrounds at all.
Lauren, if I may ask you to just hang out here, up here, for any more questions. Sorry, it's for board members. Questions for board members? Yeah, for board members. Yeah, if you want to, Lauren, come up here and just hang out here, and if there's more questions like that, yeah, please go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah. So, hi everybody. My name is Francesca Anselmi. I am the mom of 2 children who go to Q Studio Lab. One is over there. One is over here. We love the school. I am also an educator. I am a science educator. I've been in the business for more than 10 years. I don't want to repeat everything. I just want to advocate for the importance of children to be outside. I'm an outdoor educator. Playgrounds are important. Outside activities are important, and we can ask short legs to make all the way around the block. It doesn't make sense when we have a structure that is available on the garden and the children can access easily. And, so I'm not going to repeat from my professional side, from my parent side, from my children. I'm grateful for the help. Council Member 1, the community board, please support us. I don't want to take too much of your time, but thank you so much for hearing us out. And thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to show our children that there is a place to be heard and there is a place to make community where things can be workshopped together. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Marco. I'm also a parent. We have a child in Q Studio Lab right over there. His name is Azul. All of the children at that table went to the Amazing Beans, to the school, and For 2 years, when they were in 3K and pre-K, they were outdoors all the time. Right now, there are 75 children who cannot use the playground. They have to travel several blocks to have some outdoor time. And I'm sorry, I'm an artist, but that's like a Scrooge to me, you know? So we need a miracle in 46th Street. Seriously, you guys need to put your shoulder into this, because children need, right there, these children and 75 other children, please help us out. Thank you.
Any more comments about the Q Studio Lab issue? You have a question? Wait for the mic.
Thank you so much, and bring this point to the community board too. We are definitely support your problem as an educator and the parents. I understand the situation. Just one question: did you try to discuss with the superintendent of the DOE?
The commissioner is back at the end of this week, so that is who we were guided toward to get guidance. And the initial email chain is like, well, they shouldn't need a permit, I don't think, but I don't know. Like, it was very interesting as I went up the chain in DOB.
No, because the two departments are related with this, DOE and DOB. So if the superintendent knowledgeable about this issue, I'm definitely sure, because I know the both superintendent, District 25, District 26, and the council member Julian office is very much positive with this educator. So I'm pretty sure you'll get some help if you discuss with the superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, hi Lauren. I just want to say that thank you for being here. My two children went to your school, to this very school. I really, really appreciate it. It is very, very hard to raise children in New York, and one of the great feelings you get is just how much the educators are putting into it and how much they care about the kids. The reason I'm on the community board is because of how antagonistic the city can be to parents and to children. It just feels like everything is against families sometimes. So I hear you, and I hope that we as a board can do everything that we can to help you out and to make sure that your school and other schools like it remain in our neighborhood, because it's vital.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you to all of the elected officials also who are working for us as a community, and to all of us together of building something special now, especially.
All right, thanks everyone for coming out. Now, last few public comment signups. Lauren, Deanda, if you want to come off if you want to speak on Zoom.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I'm Laura. I use she, her pronoun, and I'm adding on to this great community. What a privilege to be a fellow parent and fellow community member. My daughter, Yael Xochitl Moyland, has also blossomed as being a student, and it's been really sad. And she's talked about the absence of being able to use the play structure. And I just want to add and echo both the gratitude to our elected officials and their teams that get things moving, and echo the ask for making sure that we're the squeaky wheel as a collective to move this issue and make it an issue of the past, so that we can tackle the bigger problems that we have ahead of us. So thank you so much for the time, and I look forward to it being solved.
Thanks, Laura, and sorry for getting the name mixed up. Barry, and then Seth to close us out.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Barry Ross, and last month I discussed a bus rapid transit, which I think could help with congestion, which is but this time I'd like to talk about a sustainable project in Sunnyside Yards. In Sunnyside Yards, we have the potential of developing three things. One, a train station. Two, a bus depot. And three, a park. And they will all be sustainable, and they will all work together so that this park could be very successful and our transportation could be enhanced without having to use the automobile, which would improve our transportation immeasurably. So if you guys can support it, we could take it to another level. Thank you.
Just quickly, just to clarify something, this board has supported many times over the years, this station at Sunnyside Yard that even prior Congresswoman Maloney put a lot of federal money into. So,
sure.
But just so you know that I'm not on the transportation committee anymore, but it is, Chair Riley Owens is here. It has been on our agenda and docket. It has been supported and continues to be supported. Is that fair to say? There you go.
Sure.
So thank you for continuing to bring it up.
Well, there's a lot of work to be done. It needs a comprehensive plan, and it has to be combined with new technology, and it all has to be sustainable. But I think the park is a great idea for Sunnyside Yard because they were planning a real estate project, and I think that's terrible because there's too many people, not enough facilities to handle it all. Thank you.
Seth Slade.
One minute, hold on. Oops, let me turn on my camera. Oops.
You have 2 minutes.
Oh, yes, thanks very much. First of all, I just want to thank all the members of the community board, especially the committee chairs and the officers, because they are doing volunteer positions and some of them have a lot of extra work. Oh, I'm sorry, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Seth Slade. I live in Woodside, kind of near the Mass-Pet border, but still in Woodside. And I've attended a variety of community board meetings, and I was a public member of the Transportation Committee for a while. So sorry about that. I forgot to do that at the beginning. Again, I want to thank all the volunteers who give their time. And board members have essentially one official role, that is to show up. And some of you do, and some of you don't. And over the past year, I've used the minutes, the publicly available minutes on the website, which have the attendance for everyone. And I've created a spreadsheet, color-coded spreadsheet. I love Excel and spreadsheets, which has everyone's attendance record. Some board members are awesome, and others don't show up. And the thing is, that's not fair. They need to be asked to resign. If they've applied for the next year, they need to be asked by the district manager and the chair to withdraw their applications. And if they don't do so, this board should recommend that they be removed by the borough president, or the board in Article 6 can remove people. And this is not about me personally, although I have applied 5 times and been rejected 5 times. This is about fairness to all. There's a lot of applicants, then more spots, and people who don't show up should not be on the board. I'm not going to name some of the worst offenders publicly, but I will share my spreadsheet with the chair and the district manager. So thank you very much. I see that my time is up. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Seth. Appreciate the diligence. All right, just 2 more comments from parents, and then we'll close out. Jean, please. And then Barbara.
I'm mostly here because she wanted to be back here. But I'm just another parent. I'm just another parent advocating for the playground and how wonderful it is. And I just wanted to remind everyone that spring is 2 weeks away. And so it would be a wonderful show of government efficiency if this permitting issue could be resolved in time for spring. That's all. Thank you.
And Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Community Board and all of the representatives for the electeds. My son is at Q Studio Lab and we love it. The Studio Lab is an amazing resource in our community. And I have to say that outdoor space is like chef's kiss. It's like an amazing, amazing thing to have in New York City. And my son is only 2, so the idea of him walking a half a mile down to Lulo Dottie to get a little time
Dr.
to play.
Osborne, how are you? How's life?
Okay. The idea of him having to walk a half a mile to a playground when there's actually space outside and a climbing apparatus for him outside just seems like it's a lot to ask of a 2-year-old, when it sounds like this is really like a bureaucratic administrative exercise. I used to work for the city. I get it, but I just feel like, yeah, spring is 2 weeks away. Can we get these kids outside and able to enjoy the fresh air and move their bodies? Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
All right, I think that's everyone. Show in today, Q Studio. And yeah, we'll close public comment over there. And now we'll move to our public meeting on the city planning, DCP's presentation on the One LIC draft proposal. Yep. Katie, how long do you think? Okay. 15 minutes. We'll start there.
You guys saw the presentation in January, so.
Exactly.
Yes, okay, good.
Oh, yes, maybe I should look that way.
Mic out and go closer to the screen.
Okay, got it, good idea.
So that.
No. I'd rather stare at the screen. I got it. Yep, I'll be back. Here we go. Because you see the screen. Yeah.
I have to grab a chair.
Debbie, I think you need to do. Okay.
Okay, I'm ready. Hi, everyone. This part of the meeting, I will be presenting on the One LIC Neighborhood Plan draft zoning proposal. I want to reiterate that this is a draft zoning proposal that was, first of all, the presentation itself was given in January to the Land Use Committee. The draft zoning you'll see is something actually the public saw in June of last year. So I just wanted to go over the details with you a little bit and share the presentation that was shared at the Land Use Committee. Next slide. Okay, so the study area boundaries were determined based on a combination of a few things. It's the last piece of the core LIC neighborhood not already covered by a special district. The other parts of the neighborhood, Queens West, Hunters Point South, Queens Plaza, Court Square, and Dutch Hills are either governed by the special district or have already been substantially developed. LIC is transit-rich, mixed neighborhood with a diverse economy. Food production, film, construction, food services, technical training, real estate, and office admin are some of the diverse economy here. There has been an increase in population growth since 2010 to the east and south of the study area. Oh, no, it's fine. They moved me. Hi, great, thank you. There's been an increase in population since 2010 to the east and south of the study area. We believe that there are opportunities for diverse job growth and workforce development alongside housing opportunities. We've seen interest in individual rezonings via private applications routes with similar density proposals. The neighborhood plan has advantages to these private applications because we are not looking at only developers' lots. We're looking at how we can address the needs of the community and work with other agencies, not only city planning in the land use application way. Our work has been based off your comments throughout this engagement plan and includes comments from other local nonprofit organizations in the past, including your comments to your LIC in the past. I recall there were listed concerns on the appropriation of the city-owned sites, which we know deserve separate and unique attention and will involve more work beyond the study. We address density and baseline open space along the waterfront by creating a new WAP and exploring open space needs within the special district. We're conducting the waterfront resiliency planning and addressing the street network concerns by including a loop road along the waterfront. The densities that you see, that you have seen and will see in the next few slides are selected based on a culmination of context and proximity to other similar densities. The black and pink circles are existing buildings that surround the study area. You'll see the highest by the waterfront and in proximity to Court Square, and the medium step-down densities to the residential areas to the south. We believe there is a strong land use rationale for these densities because of LIC's location in context to the city's overall, to the city overall and high level of mobility. Next slide. So for context, the LIC's skyline has towers that range from approximately 400 feet to approximately 755 feet. Our study area is located in the orange circle, if you're looking at the screen, far left, which sits in the middle of the existing towers. Next slide. The draft zoning framework were developed with goals to promote housing that mandates inclusionary housing and located at transit-rich corridors. We want to encourage mixed-use environment that is reflective of the surrounding area. We want to create open space opportunities, especially at the waterfront, and looking for ways to encourage open space inland, as you've echoed throughout our conversations. We want to strengthen the economic vitality of light industrial district, and our hope is to encourage active, diverse, and dynamic corridors. Next slide, please. Our goals inform the draft zoning proposal shown here. This was shared at the last town hall alongside the draft strategies in June. Now, part of the reasons why there's so many scrambled-looking letters is partially because we're allowing parent districts, the M and the R uses together as needed. Another reason is because each zoning district has a district adjacency to an existing area that we analyze as appropriate density based on the street, open space, and surrounding adjacent densities. We've divided these study area into 4 sub-districts. The waterfront labeled as 1, green bubble. The North and Court Square core labeled as 2, purple bubble. The industrial and commercial area labeled as 3, yellow bubble. And the core and south area labeled as 4 in the blue bubble. The purple areas will allow for residential growth, and surrounding it, we anticipate growth in both residential and non-residential in the red, orange, and yellow. Next. Okay, so now before we go into the draft zoning, I'm stepping back a little bit and sharing what FAR is. FAR is floor area ratio that sets the building's allowed density. Each zoning district is New York's zoning that has an FAR associated with it. Next slide, please. I also want to note here what zoning can and cannot do. Zoning controls height, setbacks, and density of new buildings. It can encourage public amenities in exchange for more density through bonus or waiver mechanisms. It regulates uses. It allows flexibility or regulations on uses to exist within the same building, side by side or standalone, and rezonings require new residential developments include a percentage of income-restricted housing throughout MAH through MIH. Sorry, don't want the echo. Zoning cannot require, sorry, it's okay. Zoning cannot require 100% affordable housing. Require a building to only have a certain number of bedrooms, require existing buildings to change to new uses or bulk, control the aesthetics or architecture of a specific building, cannot, okay, sorry. Cannot require rents changes to businesses, nor can zoning require certain businesses to locate into a building. Next slide. So in existing zoning in the study area, it is zoned for light manufacturing, symbolizing in zoning as M. It is home to an eclectic of businesses located adjacent to growing residential areas to the south and east. The M14 permits a manufacturing commercial FAR of 2 and community facility of 6.5 FAR. The same M14 zone in IBZ as well as the waterfront and adjacent to existing R6A zoning. M15 to the north permits a manufacturing and commercial FAR of 5 and community facility of 6.5. Both renderings demonstrate what a building under current zoning might look like. Both districts allow for a wide range of businesses, both industrial and non-industrial, but do not permit residential uses. I also want to note.
They hear you on Zoom.
They can?
They need to hear you on Zoom. Yeah.
It's not the mic, it's the feedback in front of the speaker.
Yeah, so just face
I'll
this way.
stand.
Yeah.
I'll stand. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. Hello? Okay, great. Okay, so what was I saying? I was saying something. Okay. So I think I was talking about M15. Okay. I want to hear that the M15, R10, and the R9, R7A along the waterfront, thank you, are separate rezoning applications that were approved about 3 decades ago. Today, these developers can build as of right or the zoning allows today. Thank you, Ross. On the site that shows the R9 and R7, our team has been working with the development team to include a loop road as a means of increased accessibility for the public to the waterfront open space. Next slide, please. Okay, so the draft zoning proposal maps new zoning district to uphold the city's commitment to maintain the IBZ as a center for jobs and production activities. We proposed a mix of districts that permit a wide range of community facility, commercial, and light industrial uses at high densities than what you see today. Permitted as of right in M1s, that there are art galleries, art, music, dance studios, production or entertainment studios, publicly accessible spaces, house of worship, grocery stores, most kinds of retailers, special food services, eat and drinking establishments, and health and fitness establishments. M14 through 6 uses are characterized as industrial growth districts that to be near residences and host a mix of commercial and light industrial activities near transit. The goal here is to allow existing businesses to expand while also holding onto the industrial character of the neighborhood. Next slide, please. Okay. M14 allows for 5 FAR across all uses with max base height at 125 feet and max height, building height of 155 feet. M15A allows for 6.5 FAR across all uses with a max base at 155 feet and a max building height of 205 feet. M16A allows for 8 FAR across all uses with max base height at 155 feet and max building height at 245 feet. And M23A allows for 3 FAR across all uses with base height at 96 feet and max building height at 125 feet. Next slide, please. To the north and Court Square core, we have portions of the existing IBZ we want to treat similarly to the previous mentioned subdistricts. We have the M14A and the M15A. We also are proposing the existing 2 blocks of M15 district to be M16A, R10. This change would allow a mix of higher density residential, industrial, and commercial with MIH requirements. At the Court Square core, we're expanding the existing Court Square Special District to capture these 2 districts shown as M16 R9 and M16 R10. Next slide, please. Noted in the industrial and commercial slide, the M13A and M15A would not allow for residential uses and will have the FARs of 5 and 6 respectively, with base heights at 125 feet and 155 feet, and max building heights at 155 and 205 feet. The M16A R10 would allow all uses with FAR for residential at 12, community facility at 10, and commercial and manufacturing at the 8 FAR. Base heights are limited at 155 feet. M16 R9 have a residential FAR of 8, community facility FAR of 10, and manufacturing FAR of 15. M16 R10 has a residential, community facility, commercial, and manufacturing FAR of 12 across the board. Both districts have a base height of 150 feet, and the height is governed by a sky exposure plane. The sky exposure plane is a plane that defines a building envelope in a non-contextual district designed to protect light and air at the street level. It's a virtual sloping plane that begins at a specified height above the street line and rises inward and over the zoning lot at a ratio of vertical distance to horizontal distance set forth in the district regulations. Next slide. Okay, at the core and south along 44th Drive, we're proposing to go from M4 and M14 R7A to similar medium mixed-use densities in the proposed draft zoning. As I noted earlier, the scrambled-looking districts are because they are paired districts, allowing all uses. All proposed districts have a suffix letter to denote a contextual district. The M2A R6A can be found along the southern portion of the study area boundary line that abuts the existing R6A zoning and existing residential community. The M13A R7A and M13A R7X are located at the Vernon Boulevard corridor, a wide street. This acts as a buffer to the R6A proposal. The M14A R8A is proposed along the 44th Drive corridor. Change in existing district will allow for MIH to take an effect. Okay, going from an existing M14 R7A to an M14A R8A. The M15A R8 proposed district located closest, but inland along the water. Next slide. These are forms you'll see along 44th Drive towards Court Square. The M12A R6A has a residential FAR of 3.9 and community facility, commercial, and MFAR of 3. Its base height is 65 feet and a max height of 95 feet. The M13A R7A has a residential FAR of 5, community facility, commercial maximum manufacturing FAR of 4. Its base height is at 95 feet and maximum height is at 125 feet. The M13A R7X has a residential FAR of 6, community facility of 5, and commercial and manufacturing of 4. Its base height is at 105 and max height is at 145. The M14A R8A has a residential FAR of 7.2, community facility of 6.5, and commercial and manufacturing of 5. Its base height is at 125 and max height is at 155. The M15A R8 has a residential FAR of 7.2, community facility, commercial, and manufacturing of 6.5. Its base height is at 105, and its height is governed by the sky exposure plane. Next slide. The existing waterfront is mainly M14, and as I noted earlier, the other mixed-use zones and R districts are from about 3 decades past. Today, they would be following the existing as-of-right zoning and an outdated WAP. In our draft zoning proposal, we have asked the sites to the north of the city-owned sites to consider a loop road on their property. They are also being considered as part of the revised and updated Hunters Point North WAP, Waterfront Access Plan. The proposed M16A R9 and M15A R8 would allow for all uses and require MIH. The M15A R8 are proposed districts that would allow the city-owned sites to have as much flexibility in uses that the public would require from it. Just because there is a proposed zoning district doesn't mean all of the uses would be used. It unlocks the ability to create in the FAR distribution as needed and wanted in the future. As one of the city's goals to address the housing crisis, we have drafted a zoning proposal that has a housing component on the city-owned sites. That would allow for the flexibility of uses when the city-owned sites goes through the potential RFP process later beyond the timeline of the neighborhood plan. Now, the RFEI that you guys have heard of and Christine mentioned in February, the request for interest, will collect proposal to inform next steps, which is different from the RFP, will be shared in the coming months as ways to collect interests of uses and programmatic elements for the DOE building located on the waterfront. Next slide, please. The M15A R8 has a residential FAR of 7.2, community facility, commercial and manufacturing of 6.5. Its base height is at 105 feet. There is a transitional height along the waterfront special district of 215 feet, and its max height is governed by the sky exposure plane. The M16A R9 has a residential FAR of 9, community facility of 8, commercial and manufacturing of 8. Its base height is at 135, and the transition height along the waterfront special district is 285 feet, and its max height is governed by sky exposure plane as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so on this slide, we see where we are in the neighborhood plan process. Our last workshop was in January, which focused on the city-owned city-owned sites survey and workshop. And as I noted, Christine had mentioned at last month's meeting, shared a report out during the board meeting. Throughout this one LIC neighborhood plan process, we had 14 public engagements where we identified issues and opportunities and shared goals. Next slide, please. Okay, and this is the last one. The community board is encouraged to voice their concerns throughout the entire ULURP process, all the way to the council vote. Again, I want to reiterate that this is a certification that the partner agencies get analysis that are drafted by the consultants working on the draft EIS, environmental impact statement. It is at this time that they see the impacts that the draft zoning will have on their respective topics, and it's during the ULURP process that the agencies respond formally to the draft strategies identified and voiced throughout the engagement process. And that is it. Thank you for expanding.
All right, folks, questions, please. Thanks, but questions, Sheila goes last. All right, Steve, go ahead.
We have seen during this presentation, I believe at the beginning, that we had a 100% increase in population in Long Island City. Now you're proposing things which we understand why, and we understand that progress can happen. The question I ask you is the question we asked before Long Island City was developed, and that is, when is the infrastructure to support this going to be proposed, drafted, and possibly begun? Because we have a lot of new toilets going in, and we already have a problem in Long Island City because of the combined sewage.
Okay, so as part of the, yes, we've heard that concern and we've thought deeply about it. The neighborhood plan process, DCP has been working with agency partners to investigate and look at infrastructure needs in the area, right? So both as they are existing current today and what will be needed in support in the future growth, right? So sorry, I'm just getting my notes here. As part of the draft GIS that I mentioned, our city agency partners like DEP will be conducting analysis to better understand the needs and timeline associated with the infrastructure needs that will be required for this planning process. So they are in the process, just like we are, looking at the draft environmental impact statement. And when you're asking specifically, when are you going to see the results of like what that will look like, it will be through the ULURP process.
When you come back to us when this is certified, can you please bring DEP with you so that we can find out from them whether they're even on the same chapter? Thank you. You're not? Should I go ahead?
I have a question about the IBZ as proposed.
Yes.
You're showing sort of a donut with the most intense, or the most, what's the right word? Most active manufacturing uses, and I understand that those are also lowest in height, being surrounded by a donut of higher uses and then residential beyond that. So my observation of the other IBZs, even within Board 2, is that they all have access to ready access to transportation, and don't necessarily have to traverse high-density residential areas in order to get that access, which they need both for supplies and to export their products. So I don't understand, or I'd like you to explain how this little whole donut of remaining IBZ is expected to function successfully from a manufacturing point of view.
So we have,
if in any direction they have to go through high-density residential, very crowded streets and lots of pedestrians and bikes and all of that. Strollers. Yes.
definitely heard. We have, similar to the answer that I shared about DP and working with our partner agencies, we have been working with DOT to just take a look closely and during the ULURP process and when the analysis of the draft environmental impact statement comes out, they'll have to do a deep dive into how these densities that you're talking about are going to impact the realm of transportation mobility. At first, at our initial conversation with them, it seems like there will be workable solutions to it. We are growing as a city together, and they are aware of implementations that they have to also work with to make sure it's smooth. So, but I hear your concern, Christine, and I'll bring it up at the next time.
Maury, then Danielle.
I just want to add a little to give some context to the point that Christine just made, because we're dealing with this issue in the Transportation Committee with issues over on Review Avenue, where you have an industrial area. There's supposed to be a greenway, they planted trees, and now you have businesses in there. They're very upset, saying that, you know, they don't have enough room for they can't maneuver their trucks and their big machinery, and so there's this big conflict. Honestly, I don't have the confidence that the agencies are going to come together and work on it. And, you know, supposedly there was an impact statement. There's been frustration on lots of different sides. There's a court case now going on. So I hope that you really can, you know, coordinate with them, with the other agencies. I'm not expecting a lot because I haven't seen it, and you know I haven't seen a history of effective coordination in the community, and I'm not agency, but others, we know it's not working. And, obviously, people aren't being brought in an effective way that get to make enough statements during the process. So if we look at that as an example, we know that there's just a lot of challenges that aren't getting met.
So I'm not going to say anything I haven't said before, but building on what Steve said, it's not just sewer infrastructure, although that is probably the #1 priority. It's all of the public infrastructure. We don't have enough school seats. We don't have enough green space. The subways are hell to take, and not just at rush hour. Like every time I take the subway, it is packed. You can't sometimes even get on the platform. It's all of the infrastructure, and then don't even get me started about the healthcare facilities that we don't have. So just, I get it, I guess. I'm not sure I get market rate housing, but I get it. I get we need affordable housing, but there are a lot of people like myself who live here, and it's not really livable because the infrastructure is not adequate for the people that are here now. Thank you.
Questions, please. The question was, did you hear Danielle?
I did, thank you. I'm writing it down, Danielle, thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Kenny.
Okay, we keep hearing that, the EIS is basically going to solve all our infrastructure problems, which I kind of doubt. But from a more very specific technical question, assuming that the zoning actually is approved, does that mean that building permits can be issued, and that means that building permits would be issued before the infrastructure improvements are actually made?
So I know one part of that is that DOB permitting is given only after, let's say, a site needs to be remediated. So first, they need to, when DOB sees a little E, that means that the private developers have to make sure the site is remediated.
Well, I'm not talking about remediation on the site. I'm talking about the vast infrastructure improvements that we need.
So also the other thing that I kind of know about, but next time I bring DEP, they will answer this more clearly. When a building is going up, they have to provide the sign off from DEP that says that they are not adding more load to, like, their particular building does not add more load into the existing infrastructure. And so they have to go through ways, the building itself has to, I think it's called a uniform storm, help me. I will find it for you, but there is a process where DEP says, you need to make sure that you're not adding to this, but if you are, show us how you're going to mitigate it.
Right,
So like gray.
That covers the.
Okay.
That covers the future impact on sewers, let's say. But I'm really looking at the whole picture that, basically the EIS is supposed to identify really a huge swath of improvements that the community needs now already, and ones that we will need going forward. And that, we've been through it all: open space, resilient waterfront, transportation, et cetera. But it sounds like building permits are nonetheless going to be issued well before those problems are solved.
Can you, like when, like, sorry, Kenny, I'm trying to figure out your question in terms of the timeline of the plan. Like when?
Yes.
Sorry.
So the ULURP process is 7 months, right?
Okay, yes.
And at the end of the ULURP process, the result would be an amendment to the zoning resolution and a new zoning map.
Yes.
And so a new building, but if at the end of, since none of these infrastructure improvements are being presented now to anybody, at least involved to us, and they're going to be, therefore the implementation is going to be years. So I think what Kenny's asking is, as soon as the zoning is approved, a building can apply for a permit and start building.
Yes.
But we know that even if all these infrastructure improvements were were somehow budgeted in the capital process,
But it'll be
it would
later.
be years before they would be in place. So there's a disconnect there.
So
Am I saying that
Pretty
right?
much.
Okay, thank you. I think my answer still stands in that even though the draft environmental analysis will show the infrastructure needs, whatever, mitigation and/or improvements, yada, yada, down the line, I think at the time, and again, I'll confirm with DEP of this process or the infrastructure itself, when exactly does that all come in line? And like, specifically ask about this particular scenario where right after the neighborhood plan happens or rezoning happens, and if a developer wants to develop like the next day, how does that impact the infrastructure? That's the question. The exact timing.
Yeah, more or less.
Okay,
I mean,
great.
you know, if I had to have a position about it, it would be that a shovel shouldn't go into the ground until we have, you know, a clear, not just a commitment, but clear allocations and a clear timeline of how the infrastructure improvements would take place.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
So I think one thing that you should recognize is that the reason we're finally doing a planning study and a neighborhood plan here is that it actually, at the end of this process, at the end of ULURP, we'll have an idea of what the right zoning is. We're going to enter ULURP, and it's going to probably change what the zoning is, or there's going to be a lot of comments. It has to go through your community board. It has to go through the planning commission. And it also has to go through city council. In that end of that, when we find a final plan, that includes different policies and programs and infrastructure capital investments that will be agreed upon based on what we've learned from our experiences in these meetings the last 18 months, since November 2023 or something. It will include what we've learned through the EIS, and it will include what we've learned from the agencies as well. So we'll have something at the end of this will give us at least an understanding of how we're moving forward. And we know, yes, development will happen potentially right away. We also know that it's going to take quite some time for every building to come online, and it's going to take some time, depending on what's happening in our world, to know when buildings will actually be built. So we're not going to get 30 buildings all at once, you know, and I'm making up numbers here. Please don't use 30. That's not a number that exists. But I just think that's something just to consider as well.
Yeah, hi. Just one comment. I mean, some of this issue about the infrastructure being built before the building and so on, it sounds a little bit like a chicken and egg thing. But I think you should separate out, and maybe you do, different kinds of things. Because as I understand, when the DEP, what's his name, Alfonso, commissioner came, he pointed out that when a building's going to be built, they have to provide for sewage management, for instance. But when it comes to something like schools, my son used to teach down in Long Island City when the first schools went in and the buildings were just starting. And you know, we've gotten an acceleration of population and a lot of pressure on something like that, which is not going to be part of a specific ULURP process. So I'm just curious how you think about those kinds of things, how we sort that out. I don't know the answer.
I mean, I guess if I'm trying to think of your question directly, sorry. It's like echoing, so I'm trying to. So, I mean, we're working very closely with schools, as one of the examples that you mentioned. We're working very closely with schools to make sure that we're really thinking hard about what do we need for seats in this area. We'll definitely have that debate continuing through the ULURP process. And we're trying to figure out ways through zoning that we can add schools, and also through other policies that we can do as well. And I think that's the same statement for every agency that we're working for. I mean, the one thing that is really great, again, about a neighborhood plan is the fact that it forces all these agencies to come together, to work together, to think about how are we thinking about this neighborhood together with communities. And so I think that's the big difference. When we don't have a neighborhood plan and we don't have to think about the area as a whole, we're doing one building at a time. And that doesn't allow us to really take into consideration the larger context of that one building.
Yeah, I basically agree with you. I would add to the list healthcare facilities. I would
100%.
just
Yeah.
love to see that Con Edison parking lot have one grand high school and one grand hospital. That would serve the
Fair
community.
enough, yes.
Steve, Steve, Riley, me, and Sheila, and then I'm gonna cut it off. Go ahead.
Lisa Della has her hand
Oh, okay, Lisa. All right.
If I may, we applaud the idea of planning a community rather than allowing piece-by-piece development. Of course, if it was piece by piece, there could be certain things extracted from the builders in order to build, which we will not be able to do once we finish this plan and change the zoning. They will be allowed as of right to build what is allowed on that zoning lot. It's going to happen, as you say, not all at once, but it will happen. What Kenny had talked about, what I had talked about, everybody else seems to be talking about is the idea that the infrastructure, whether it's the sewage or whether it's the transportation or whatever it might be, will not even be in the planning stages before the zoning is changed. It's a very strange thing to ask you, and I don't think it's been done before, but is there a way that we can approve the zoning but give it a date in the future of when it may begin, so that the city would have at least a chance to catch up and do what is required before this happens? We should be plotting where the school is going to go, where the hospital is going to go, where the open space is going to go. All should be done, or at least in the stage where it's the designs have been finished, the plots have been located, and we're just looking for construction. So the only way to do that is to pass this, but to say that the zoning will go into effect for 2 years or something like that. Is that even possible to do that?
Probably not. I don't think so, but let me come back to with a better answer for you on that.
Please try to, because I believe that the zoning, when it gets passed, there's an effective date. And the only question is whether it can push that effective date out far enough so that everybody can plan what they want to do. The builders can plan also.
Yeah, okay.
Riley?
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to echo what others have said about the need for infrastructure, being keyed into what is happening within the MTA and DOT and things and future plans. MTA is talking about its 2025 to 2029 capital plan right now, and I don't think there's anything included in building out anything in this neighborhood for the future. So that would mean it would have to come in the 2030 to 2035 capital plan. Obviously, there are things that are going to improve service, like modern signaling systems that are going to make more trains available, more cars available, but we need more transit stops in this area, and this community board is a forum for other ideas like dedicated bus lanes in the tunnels and on the bridges. It almost seems like if you live in Long Island City, you're going to have to Uber somewhere because you'll be far on a cold winter night from a subway station, and the subway is going to be very, very crowded. It just feels like we're relying on cars. So it would be nice to get some partnership with the MTA to come and talk to us about what their plans are for a neighborhood that's already overburdened with its population increase. And then we heard from somebody earlier today about Sunnyside Yards. We have asked for a Long Island Railroad station there, a major train station there. It's there, there are trains there, and there's definitely the population there. So we would feel more confident because I think everybody in this room wants more housing if there were more infrastructure, and everybody needs to get around New York, and everybody wants to come to this neighborhood, and everybody wants to go to Manhattan. So there need to be better connections. So thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
The question is, did you hear him? Okay. All right.
Yeah. Is that anything like that in the pipeline where I think MTA is going to come talk to
Nicely
my
done.
committee?
My question is, and Warren, feel free to jump in, an update on Blissville being part of an IBZ study. Do you have one yet?
In the IBZ study,
Like industrial plant?
in the industrial plan?
Right.
Yeah, so, there's going to be a public meeting coming up in the next month or so. I don't remember the exact date or so. Sorry, it's the echo, it's driving me. So there will be a meeting coming up, an info session on the future industrial plan that was through the local law 172. And so we will be back in touch with you on the Blissville. I don't have anything on that particularly now, but we're looking through that plan, we're looking at all industrial areas.
Thanks. Lisa, then Camille, and Sheila.
Yeah, I have a really quick question. Hi there. I have a really quick and easy question, but in these presentations that I've heard many times, you talk about the sky exposure plane. And I just want to be clear for people in the audience here that the sky exposure plane could be 700-foot buildings. And so what, in your estimation, in the R8A, the R9, and the R10 districts, what is the current sky exposure plane there? Thank you.
I'm sorry, we don't have an exact, so Lisa, you're asking for the sky exposure plane, the datum, and.
I'll clarify for you. It used to be, there was a runway to LaGuardia Airport. And, you could only build 400-foot buildings.
As part of our zoning resolution, Lisa?
Yeah, sorry, you broke up for a second.
Yeah, no, I didn't say anything else. I just said, I just said, it used to be that it was, so you don't run into a plane flying into LaGuardia Airport. So what are you saying what is that height now?
Right,
I mean, because I'm sorry, because we know the span is 700 feet. So what are you saying that is?
I didn't know. What do you think about this situation? Yes, sorry. So the reference point that we follow or we are guided by is through our zoning resolution that has a section that says that near the airports or airlines, flight path, it's called specifically the flight path. In this area, it's approximately 740 feet above sea mean level. So that is what the guidance is. And that's why in the second slide or third slide I showed you, a bunch of the towers or the buildings that you see surrounding the study area are around that range. If they wanted to build up to that you will see that range happen. And if they do surpass that 740, it's because it depends on the terrain, where they are located, based on the ground level, ASML, and or they have the permission from the FAA and Port Authority. It's a long process that is separate from the city's process, but they do have a procedure where if you wanted to break that 740, they have to, applicants or developers have to prove that they're not in the flight path, or they will not be endangering the safety of the flight area. Does that answer your question, Lisa?
Yeah, that does answer my question. And I just want to clarify, that's in the R8A, 9, and 10 districts. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Just mostly a comment and a request for the future. Okay. As a layperson in the audience, I found the presentation extremely technical and hard to follow, and I felt quite lost knowing, I think you spent a long time talking about the existing and then a little time talking about the proposed. So my request is for future meetings, if you can lay out the implications a little more clearly. And I think you also started talking about, that there is other work happening across different agencies as you're thinking about the redevelopment of this neighborhood. So it'd be great to bring that to the presentation to make it a little less dry, and to make it a little more informative for those of us who are not, experts in this space. Thank you.
Thanks.
And I encourage everyone to go to the Land Use Committee. We spent 3 hours last week, last month, so, so my instruction will be first go to Land Use, because you cover everything in extreme detail, more than, you'll leave half an hour before we're done, so, so definitely go to Land Use Committee, but also, yes, a Cliff's Notes version would be always helpful. If there's no one else, Sheila, to close us out.
Thank you. Sheila again. So I have a couple of quick questions. Some are follow-ups. One, can you clarify some of the numbers you had in the presentation? This goes to one of Steve's early questions, too. You said that the population has grown 100% in the past 20 years? 15 years. However, I'd like to clarify what it was in the 15 years prior to that, because my numbers show that from 2010 to 2020, the population grew by 300%, and then it grew by 100% from that 300%, because the population back in like 2010 was around 10, 11,000, and then it grew by 300% to late 2019. So it's just, I want to just ask you to clarify those numbers, because I think it's a little bit, it doesn't really show the real growth if you're only talking about it in those terms. And that, it gets into the whole infrastructure issue. So is that clear? Is that clear? Yes. That's my question. I'm making sure I ask a question in there.
We'll get back to you on that.
And Sheila, we're late, if you wanted to email me and us where you got your numbers as well, that would be helpful.
I will, okay, absolutely. Great. And I want to make sure everybody's shared, because when people are giving input on this, if they really don't understand what the growth has been and why the infrastructure has not kept up, if they're not looking at accurate numbers that reflect that, it's hard for people to have input. And can you define, just really one more time, define, when you say a neighborhood plan, and a lot of this seems to only be based on the target area, when you say neighborhood plan, are you taking into account with the infrastructure issues in EIS, Blissville, and Hunters Point South, or is it strictly the area that you're looking at the rezoning? That's going to influence my next question.
Hold on.
Okay, I can move on to the next one while she looks that up.
We're going to come back to number 2.
Okay. So then I did want to follow up also on one of Steve's questions, because when you said that, when he asked about can there be a 2-year, Steve and Danielle, maybe a 2-year wait before anything is be groundbroken after rezoning, and he said, can it happen? And it was clear, it was like, just no. And so my question is, why?
Okay, I don't think he said 2 years, but.
He did.
You said 2 years?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't write that in my notes. Okay, thank you for the exact 2 years. I'm sorry. Thank you for clarifying the 2 years. And I think the answer was probably not, but.
I heard that, but
Yes.
my question is, why not?
We'll get back to you. I think we want to, is this the question from previously?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll come back to you with another answer. I said that I.
Yeah, it's just no, and if it's no, then why not?
Exactly.
Because that also gets, again, to the infrastructure things, is we as a community are being asked to wait to respond in a ULURP process till you're done. However, there are other plans that potentially are already being designed, which should actually wait until after the EIS and the ULURP process. So waiting will allow all of us to be responding in time to the research that comes back. So you're going to clarify that. I had one more stuff down here, but yeah, and this is back to the neighborhood plan question. Did you have an answer for that?
So the neighborhood plan definitely takes into consideration the area around where the zoning actions.
How far
happen.
outside?
I don't have the number on me right now. It's the context area. Exactly. I don't have the number right in front of me right now, but we'll make sure to have that.
Okay.
But I think it varies as well in some areas depending on what we're studying. So it could be a half a mile, it could be further, it could be closer, but at the end of the day, what's really being considered is like what's happening in this particular area, how is it going to impact not just that area, but how does it impact the area around it?
Well, it's the area around it that gets into my question, because what I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, is this is part of why we need a neighborhood plan. Why do we need a neighborhood plan? And we've been saying that for years and years and years and years. But the definition of neighborhood plan and the parameters, the borders that define what this neighborhood plan is, also gets into the questions around infrastructure and environmental impact and toilets flushing. Because while this plan looks specifically at that one area, the surrounding area, there's a lot of development that's going to happen as of right. They won't even have to have EIS studies, but that is going to also impact.
That's included in the discussion, yeah.
All
That's
of it.
included in the discussion,
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
right. And will you tell us at the end in the EIS study, where we will sit after this in like public open green space per capita? Because right now we're about the bottom. I know, that was my last one. You didn't have to.
There was a question. It was a yes or no question.
Yes. Come back to you to talk about the FEIS?
We're in green space.
Sorry.
Green space.
As per what was.
So this district is like 57, it's like way down there at the bottom currently for public open green space per capita. And as we know, we heard from all these parents with kids today, throughout this district, everywhere, there is just a lack of public open green space. So if you're going to almost double the population again after it has been 300% and then doubled, and where are we going to sit in that ratio of public open green space that is needed for education, for children's growth, for senior citizens, for the new residents coming in? Can you tell us where we will sit in that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back.
Thank you. Without further ado, attendance. Ryan. Before 9 o'clock.
All right. Without further ado, like you said, let's jump into it. Amparo Abelbay. Present. Nellie Afshar. Absent. Anatol Ashraf.
Present.
John Bahia.
Present online.
Thanks. Anne-Marie Baranowski. Present. Carisha Batan. Here. Nick Berkowitz. Absent. Danielle Brecker. Present. Carlos Castel-Croak. Here. Lisa Charles. Absent. Tanya Chavez.
Present.
Osman Chowdhury. Steve Cooper. Present. Warren Davis.
Here online.
Lisa Deller.
Here online.
Maury Gallinoy. Somnath Kumir. Absent. Dr. Raz Danutsas. Alexandra Gonzalez.
Present online.
Camille Gray. Kenny Greenberg. Mohammed Hossein. Christine Hunter. Leland Kendall. Absent. Badrun Khan. Absent. Diana Kitchler. Absent. James Kim. Excused. Prameet Kumar. Excused. Chimang Lama. Sheila Lewandowski. No, I wouldn't. Benjamin Lucas. Absent. Patrick Martinez. Andy Olivares. Absent. Sishan Ott.
You're online.
Okay, thanks. Riley Owens. Jolly Patel. Maya Saab.
Present online. Oh.
Roberto Saldana. Ryan Smith, I am here. Caroline Spitzer. Lauren Spring. Akello Thomas.
Good evening. I'm here online.
Okay. Thank you. Letitia Vasquez. And Michael Zorob. All right, thanks so much. We have a quorum. Thank you, Debbie.
All right, and come on, some of you are letting Seth down. He's keeping track. He's watching. Thank you, Seth. All right. Next is approval of minutes. Friendly amendment to change Maury's attendance from excused, from absent to excused. But otherwise, sure, sorry. Motion to approve the minutes with the friendly amendment to count Maury's absence as excused last month. Show of hands.
I think also Lauren Springer wrote an email to be excused from the physical board meeting in February as well, and she was listed as unexcused absent.
Okay, so Lauren and Maury. Yep. And then we'll, yeah, we'll approve it with those amendments. Thank you. Yep. Great. So, show of hands. Abstentions? One abstention. Any opposed? Oh. Okay, two abstentions. Three abstentions, sorry. Three, okay. Lisa, you abstained?
No, I'm approved.
Oh, okay. All right, three abstentions. Okay, I will try not to take up too much time. Happy Lent, Ramadan Kareem, and Eid Mubarak in advance, because it'll be, at the end of the month. Yeah, it was great to see everyone at St. Pat's for All. Thank you, Tanya and Patrick, for leading the charge. Yeah. We had a good turnout this year. We wanted to have a bigger crowd marching, so this year, because we kind of didn't get our stuff together until late. But yeah, so next year we'll try to have maybe like a table. But I think for St. Pat's, I think from now on we could just try to have a better crew marching. The march is the thing, right? So let's try to do that. In wider news, some good stuff about Sunnyside and Woodside. Gothamist wrote an article about life expectancy in New York City since 2013 to 2022. Sunnyside and Woodside had the highest life expectancy of the whole city from 2013 to 2022. Wait, no, that's not the right way, right lesson. Let's make it to 95. Let's get some more parks. Let's make it to 95. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. At the February Borough Board meeting, that is the monthly meeting at Queensborough Hall where all the chairs get together. I report on it when there's something interesting to me to report on. Forgive the faux pas, but this month we worked on Queens BP's budget request to the city for fiscal year 2026. Some good stuff for us. I'll get back to our top 10 budget, our top 20, budget requests. But some of the cool things in there was the funding. There's a request for funding for a land use consultant for all community boards, which is great. And there's a funding for live streaming for all community boards. And related to that, the borough president was kind enough to accept my help in creating like a tech committee or something like that for all community boards. So, except it's going to be next year when there's money for it, hopefully. But next year, but because of this was one main thing that made me, I'm getting way ahead of myself, but made me want to ask for another year as chair to kind of see these things through. It's going to be my last year, then I'm out, and I'm not reapplying. I'm out. So seeing some of these things through, and as some of us have seen, some of my initiatives take longer. So the path of good intentions, or whatever they say. So yeah, super excited to work on, help work on that at the Queensborough president level. And we have new members coming in. There's a prospective member over there, so thanks for coming. Yeah. I wish we did that when Claire was here, but and there was you also applied. Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. You got a whole interview prep at the engagement committee meeting. Yeah. To engage. So thanks for engaging, and thanks for doing your due diligence as you applied. And yeah, so we'll work on getting a new member onboarding document ready for next year, or for next month, and we'll do an onboarding session, and public members will get you in on that as well. So the budget stuff reminds me that we have our treasurer has resigned. So big round of applause to Kat Bloomfield. Really appreciate their help. And that leaves an opening for a new treasurer. The bylaws say that the treasurer must be elected, but we have someone interested already. So Michael, if you wouldn't mind, just come up here and make a 2-minute pitch, and we'll also open it up to anybody else who would like to, who would be interested in it. But yeah, Michael, come on.
Sorry?
What does the bylaw say as to when the election occurs?
The month after. Yep.
All right. Good evening, everyone. To those of you who I haven't worked with closely, my name is Michael Zurab. I live in Sunnyside, literally around the corner, just on the other side of Queens Boulevard, and I'm really humbled to ask for your vote to serve as treasurer of the board. I think we're all here because we want to, in our own ways, make government work a little better for our neighbors. And I think with my sort of background and experience in quantitative social science research and as a data scientist, that role for me is as treasurer. That's where I can have the most impact. Basically, I like numbers and to, even a good color-coded spreadsheet, although I don't have one in hand, and using those tools to make better decisions. So these are, as you all know, crazy times at practically all levels of government, and unfortunately that will mean even tougher choices around prioritizing scarce resources. To that end, I think here are a couple of ideas I've had to make the office of treasurer more effective. The first is just to do a better job with outreach that informs our budget requests. So there are more than 120,000 people who live in our community board, our district, and the survey that serves as our primary means of outreach to inform that prioritization gets double-digit responses. I mean, I'm not expecting, I'm practical here, we're not gonna get tens of thousands of responses, but I think we can at least double that. And I think it's good to have a quantitative metric, and I hope that we can sort of work together to get the word out and hear from folks. I mean, we heard tonight even from just a handful of folks, an issue that probably none of us have considered, which is the Department of Buildings and perhaps other agencies really causing difficulty for people in our communities. And so it is really important and a kind of measurable goal we can have. The second is around just basically creating continuity of information. So I'd love to just create a record of all the historical budget requests we've made and their outcomes and track that over time. I think that'll give us better advocacy, so we can say we've asked for this, X times. I've heard from a lot of folks with more, history on the board than me about all these historical things we've advocated for, like a Long Island Railroad station at Sunnyside Yards, but not everyone is going to be here forever. And in fact, there will be term limits, and so it'll be good to write some things down and have a kind of historical record of all these different requests and their outcomes, and I think that'll help us make better decisions going forward. So I know, if I'm able to serve, I have big footsteps to fill, and I'm grateful to Kat and the staff, but I think we can work together and try to do what we can to make the board even more effective. Thank you.
Well said. All right. I think that was it for me. Debbie.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. This month, the 108 has a new captain, Captain Hamed Armani from the 108 precinct. He came by to say hello with Community Affairs. We were very grateful to meet our new captain. And if our chair would like, he will maybe come April or May. So we'll see what you recommend, which month, and we'll see if we can get him.
Before the ULURP.
So he'd like to come. We discussed, most importantly though, we did discuss what's going on in this district with the double parking and the parking on the sidewalks, and how pedestrians and children and seniors and all of us can't walk on a sidewalk. Certainly every auto body shop, I think, is misbehaving in this district. All the way from Long Island City to Van Dam to Woodside to Laurel Hill. So we had a whole conversation. I see as I rode around the district, he's already started. So I'm happy to see that, and I'm happy to report that. But if you see something on a particular location, please email the board office. We're trying to keep as much track, so at my cabinet meetings, we can make that a priority. So I want to mention that again. Reminder to move your clocks ahead 1 hour on Sunday. We lose sleep, but we get that light, so we're all excited for that. It's Women's History Month. So thank you to everybody. The MTA, they're planning on attending our transportation meeting. I just sent the confirmation, as per Riley, that are going to talk only about the bus redesign and the 2 phases. Right now, our liaison is back. It's Lucille Songhine, and she is excited to be back as our liaison for the bus redesign. We still have Megan, and that's for the 7 train. So we have 2 actually, which is a good thing. So we have more contacts. Parks update, the construction for Court Square is delayed. They're waiting for permits from the MTA. But I don't know that it's delayed too long according to them, but we're following up and we're keeping track. We've had 17 complaints since the February meeting. DOT, potholes, pedestrian walkways is number 1. DOS, dirty sidewalks, fender issues, and PD, the illegally parked vehicles. So we will continue. I just want to mention that today we got the emails from the school and the permits. I will bring it up at the cabinet meeting if DOB is there, and we'll start a dialogue to see what we could do to help them. So we let them know. Yeah, Sheila. Oh.
Thank you, Debbie. So it's a question that I bring up occasionally just to make sure everybody knows, especially for people who want to remain anonymous, that, and I think about people, in, our new neighbors especially, if they have an issue, they can call the office.
Yes.
and report it, and you can follow up so that
Correct,
they
the
can
community
remain
board
anonymous.
acts as the liaison.
Yeah,
So
I
if it is,
just-
and if somebody wants to be anonymous, they can be. It's the complaint of the community board. And as you know, and been around a long time, we do not divulge who made the complaint. The complainant is community board too.
I have a follow-up question on that. So do you have to call or?
You can email.
The emails are public, no? You can be like foiled.
I'm sorry?
Can't you be foiled?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Is the call more anonymous?
Yes.
Okay.
But we record every, we have a trail.
Oh.
But yes, but pretty well, we are the complainant. And it's not as easy as to just foil, and it takes a long time to get information, and it's a big process.
Okay. Thank you.
We are the city of New York,
Okay.
and we are an agency.
As a follow-up to the Court Square Park, it looks like they stopped maintaining it, so I'm not sure how long the delay will be in terms of the redevelopment, but I'm wondering if they can continue to maintain it. It looks like.
I'll mention it to Parks.
Yeah, looks like it needs some upkeep if it's not going to be done. I don't know, there were benches alongside on Jackson that are no longer there. I don't know if that was related to the bus stop or the park, but it seemed like it was close to getting started because it's looking pretty dingy of late.
We'll mention it to
just
Parks
that
that
they
it needs
delayed
to
it.
be cleaned
For how long?
while we're waiting for the permits.
Okay. Do you know how long that will be?
They didn't tell me how long, they just said that was the delay.
And I may have missed it.
They sent us an email, actually.
Were there any updates on the dog park that's closed in the other park?
I think that's under Parks and Environment. I'm not going to take your report away.
Thank you.
And thank you very much.
Better than nothing. I'm going to switch around the committee reports because environment, we have something to vote on. So, Carlos.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So I chaired my first Environment Committee meeting this month. Thank you. Thanks, Debbie. Oh, thank you. So briefly, before I get to the letter that I hope everyone had a chance to look at, I have two updates first. But yeah. So just so everyone knows, on March 12th, there's going to be a public meeting that DEP is putting together on the draft scope of work for the Newtown Creek project, which should help reduce the amount of CSOs in the Newtown Creek. So if folks want to go to that, there's a public comment period. I think it's supposed to start on the 12th and end in April 11th. So you'll have a month if you want to submit comments, but I'm going to try to go or submit comments. Sorry. I think it might be online. I can have Debbie circulate the link. I have it. But
Carlos, I want to interrupt you. I'm just in sympathy with Camille. A CSO is
combined sewer overflow. So when it rains a lot, all the sewers get really flooded, and instead of that water going anywhere, if they get super flooded, it just flows over into a lot of our local waterways. So it's very bad for our local waterways. And the sewers don't have a lot of capacity, so it doesn't take a lot of rain. So, and the other thing was the update about the dog run. So if people remember, Murray Playground dog run had been closed apparently because of some environmental remediation issues, and they don't have any plans to open it because they're doing a reconstruction. It's going to take 3+ years still. So Parks Department had sent us a list of vacant lots in the surrounding area that could potentially be used for a potential temporary dog run. We asked them to explore all of the options that they had provided to us. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but that is where we are within the process. They're going to look at them. Yeah, Sheila.
I'm just like speechless. They sent you a list of empty lots in the surrounding area?
Correct. That are, I think they're owned by the city. So they're not all owned by parks, but they're owned by the city.
I'm just also hearing the potential for parks, period. So like that list, even if, temporary dog run, but for us to advocate for those empty city lots to become park space, desperately need it.
Sure. I think that's something we could definitely follow up on afterward. I think first try to get the dog run.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's also like, it wasn't exactly clear to me how big these lots were, at what readiness they were, who owned them and who was using them for what reason. Like the fact that it would be potentially a temporary dog run might have made it so that it couldn't be a park, but you're absolutely right that we should follow up on that afterwards.
Even a small place that can have jungle gym is useful.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I have a question. Not
Yeah.
that I had the mic. Would it be possible for them or to do a site walkthrough with you or the committee so you can have a better idea of what these sites do look like and we can have a better way to advocate for it?
Yeah, definitely. I think the Parks Department actually offered me a site walkthrough or a district walkthrough at some point, probably in the spring when it's a little nicer out. So happy to make that a point of a talking point for the to the walkthrough, and we can invite members of the board who are interested as well.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, definitely keep you guys posted. Last thing, so the Parks Department presented a draft plan for the reconstruction of Luludati Playground. Some of the highlights from that were they added a lot more greenery to the area, so there's a lot more trees and green spaces. It was a little lacking in green space before. There's a new turf that's going to be right in the middle of the playground area, just so there's a little bit more open space. There's going to be some benches and tables for folks to kind of sit around if you want to have lunch or breakfast there or whatever. So it seemed very nice. They were asking for a letter of support, drafted one, like to send it to them. So curious if folks have feelings, thoughts one way or another about the contents of the letter we've drafted.
Patrick, okay. Okay, Amparo first, yep, go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you for being open to amendments. I would like to suggest one to this letter of support to the Luludati Park redesign, specifically to remove the request of hostile architecture elements, which unfairly targets our unhoused neighbors and makes a public, peaceful environment into an inequitable and segregated space. We need to design public spaces to include and not exclude, and I can't support this in our neighborhood. So would you be amenable to a friendly amendment in the letter?
Yeah, I would absolutely be open to that. It was my understanding that that was an issue that some people in the past had been concerned about. So if it's no longer a concern of the board, then definitely happy to take that out. Is that something I have to accept or now, or we're discussing? Okay, so I guess continue discussion and then discussion.
I think this is just a follow-up to be sure I'm understanding Amparo's message. This has to do with, and I was having trouble even visualizing this, these bars that were going to be placed across benches to prevent people from sleeping.
So I think so I think a lot of benches, like they would have like rings, like arm things. You can't just like lay across it, right? But there are a couple of benches in the proposed design that are very close to a table that's cemented into the ground, so you can't move them, and you wouldn't be able to slide in without with an armrest on it. So you could technically sleep on it, but you also couldn't get into it if it had an arm bench.
Huh. Well. All right, so I'm comfortable with Amparo's suggestion. I guess I understand a little bit better what's in the letter. Thank you.
So we need a motion? No, I guess no, we're still discussing. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Riley.
My question was, I haven't seen the design. Is it available to see a design for the park?
Is it publicly available?
Oh, is it an older design? Okay. Are they updating the playground equipment there?
Yes, it's a pretty actually impressive design, it looks
And
like.
still the sprinklers or new sprinklers?
Yes, there's like these rings that kids can run through,
Okay.
and there's like a button that presses and it turns them on.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They were requesting for the letter of support in short order. I think the construction is not supposed to start until 2027, I believe.
Still in design, it's still in final design, it's gotta go through. Oh, yeah, address the motion. Yeah.
We don't have to have a motion? All right, better still.
Anatol, can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, I just want to ask if you had seen, Park they have certain options for their park furniture. Have you seen the park furniture? That they're talking about these benches? Because they may have different options that you could look at.
I haven't seen all of the options. We had asked the question about the benches when we're at the meeting. I think the point was they were trying to address community requests to provide more seating space with tables, and they're not going to put anything down there that people can steal. So it has to be cemented in the ground. And because of the space limitations, they had to make it so that there were no armrests on these benches, so you could actually slide into them.
I mean,
If folks don't see that as acceptable, then we can discuss that. But yeah.
Oh, wait, armrests. As a separate issue, you need some benches with armrests for seniors who have.
Absolutely. It's not every bench. There's a couple of benches that don't have the armrests.
I mean, I would defer to their recommendation. I don't think that I just don't think that the Parks Department is out to cause people not to use the park. And I think there are various options that if the community board wanted to have an input in park furniture, you could request that they come back to the Environment Committee or the Parks Committee and show you options for the park furniture.
But Lisa, the letter is worded to specifically refer to benches with some kind of pole across them. That's what I was confused about, to prevent people from sleeping.
Yeah, I think the request was to remove that sentence, and I've accepted that amendment. So it doesn't, unless people disagree with that, I think we don't need to discuss it further.
But you don't want, well, I would also say, if you would be so kind as to ask them to show you the furniture, we can vote on this letter, but you can ask them to come back as they're redesigning the park, so you could have more choice in the matter. We've done that before.
Like a follow-up.
Yeah, ask the
Sure,
Parks
if
Department
people
with a
want to see more
follow-up
furniture.
as they're designing the park to come back to you and show you what are the things that they're installing there. First off, to this the benches and whatever tables they're installing, because they have various options from time to time. So not all of parks are identical, and we can have some more choice in that.
Well, are people interested in having more choice? I'm fine with the designs they showed. And I don't. Sure. Okay.
I also have a request. This is Tanya. I'm online. And when you're saying benches that you can slide.
Tanya, hang on. Tanya, sorry. Wait.
It goes through a committee and then it comes, so it's historically, just to give historic data, that's all I'm inputting on here, is Parks requests just a letter of support so they can continue to move forward. We can, as Lisa just mentioned, we can ask them to provide more options, furniture, and bring it to the board for people to see. We've done that in the past as well, and I'm sure they would be amenable to that as well. And just taking the line out of the letter lets them continue so that we can have it by 2027. Otherwise, we don't give them a letter and whatever happens, happens.
Motion to table withdrawn. Camille, Tanya, and then Maury.
Just in terms of the letter, it says, at the meeting, a recommendation was made and seconded to send a letter of support for the playground project, and it doesn't say we're supporting the playground project. So I'd recommend clarifying that. And if a letter has not, I'm assuming a letter has not been sent, is that clear?
This is the letter.
This is the letter, so yeah, I'd recommend clarifying that. So yeah.
You're saying, so are you suggesting an amendment to have the letter say
Community Board
that
2
community tour
supports.
supports the designs?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
I accept that amendment.
Tanya?
Yes, I have one request, Carlos. So as Lisa mentioned, we can actually look at the furniture. And I think I just understood that you said that we may have sliding benches for the tables. And I'm just thinking about our seniors and people with disabilities. Like more of our seniors actually want to go to the park to have lunch or to have tea and just sit and use those tables. So if we have sliding tables, I'm not understanding how they would benefit of it. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, we can request more information about the furniture.
Maury?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the letter, for the most part, looks fine to me. I like the idea of clarifying that it is a letter of support. I trust my colleagues on the Environment Committee. I think, if you made a vote and you made a decision, I'll defer to your expertise on the committee. And I think it's good that we at least had this discussion. In general, I also agree, though, that we should take out the line about because I think, and I'm glad you're doing that, and I just want to reinforce that only because, there's a lot of unhospitable or inhospitable architecture in public spaces that creates a way to, as Amparo said, exclude people. And we want to include everyone because even our unhoused are part of our community and our neighbors.
And infants learn to crawl on that big bench, on the big benches without any obstacles. Anne-Marie?
Hi, Carlos, can we include in the letter this request to see some of the furniture as the design develops? So you just include it in the letter as well?
Sure, we can have that. Continue. Yeah, sure, we can add a line that says that we ask that they continue to keep us updated and involved as they continue.
Krisha. Oh, okay. Steve.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to authorize your committee to send a letter indicating our support for the park changes they plan to make, taking into account the comments that have been made. Motion's been seconded.
I have a question. You mean it's the letter coming from the committee or from the full board?
Well, it actually comes from the full board, but the committee is not addressed.
It's based on a committee vote.
Yeah, discussion, Sheila. And then Krisha to close us out.
Two quick things. When I'm remembering, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was also issues about the fence heights.
They had reduced the outer fence height.
Right. And
that was part of the
actually
designs.
Right, but we actually didn't want it reduced. And the Parks was saying that they're new, they're kind of, if I'm remembering that correctly, their standard now is lower.
Mm-hmm.
And we were saying we didn't really want it lower because then late at night, it's much easier for people to get in. So I am remembering that. The dog run as well. And then the other thing I just want to is, we're discussing this motion, but I feel like there's a lot of questions about the design right now. So how do we support a letter that's supporting a design when we have all these questions? So it's a letter, but then the letter should be rephrased for them to just continue and not that we're supporting the actual design that was shown. Right.
We're supporting their efforts to redesign.
Yep, and then those comments were made. You accepted those amendments. Yeah.
Okay.
Krisha?
Can I call a question?
I allowed, am I allowed?
We're still within discussion. Last question.
Okay, am I allowed to like ask for an additional thing to be added to the letter during this portion of discussion?
It's been seconded with the amendments. So, though that's
I can add another amendment?
What would they?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. While we're at it, may we ask in the design that they consider neurodiverse design in terms of, like color and material? That's just been something that's been coming up in parks design citywide lately, and it's been piloted. And I think this is a great opportunity to continue that type of pilot, especially with the amount of children here that have lots of different needs.
Sure, I'm happy to accept that.
Thanks.
Call the question. Show of hands or? Sorry, all those in favor of calling the question. Okay. Carlos, do you mind restating what we're voting on?
I believe we are removing the line that is requesting the bars on the benches. We are adding an amendment, or we are clarifying that we are supporting the continuation of their design process. And we are, what's the last one?
Neurodivergent.
Oh, we are adding neurodivergent design elements to the park. And then, is that it? And then we're asking them to come back, continue involving us in the process, and come back to us to clarify as things. Yes, correct.
Folks online are also in favor. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Yep.
It's different. We had a guy here from the.
I'm sorry.
I don't remember whether it was the December or January meeting. Somebody came in who was newly appointed from DEP, I believe.
Yes.
Talking about the sewers. We asked him to get back to us after he knew something. He was making lots of promises. Has he been in touch with the community board? If not, can you invite him to your committee to get an update on what they are talking about doing, what kind of a timeline? This had to do with the sewer systems going through Woodside and Maspeth, I believe, and the flooding that goes on. Has he gotten back to you at all?
I do believe that he went out with, about 2 weeks ago. I don't know if Warren Davis is still on. Is he still there?
I'm here.
Warren, were you out on that site visit with the commissioner and Tom? And
Yes, I was there.
you want to give a quick update of your site visit? We can ask the commissioner to come back to environment as well. He's looking forward and would like to do the district too, so. But why don't you want to give a quick little update?
It was several electeds that were there, including Councilmember Juan, of course, myself, Tom, Newtown Creek Alliance, the DEP liaisons there. Can't remember off the top of my head the names, and I apologize for that. We did a thorough walkthrough, discussed some of the issues facing Blissville, but just outside of Long Island City, and how we're being impacted with flooding issues, particularly with sewage. We went to several locations throughout the neighborhood discussing what those possibilities were for causing the flood. I would say overall the meeting was very positive. There's still some conversation probably still needs to be had regarding resolution, maybe even doing sewage capacity on 37th Street. So again, there were a lot of things discussed. We just have to follow up, I believe, in another 60 days with what those solutions are, where those conversations will lead us to. But I think it was a good, long overdue meeting. And we look forward to have another one, which should be soon. And we'll touch base with Community Board 2 on that date and time. So thank you again for your help with this.
And he kept his promise, so we can get him back as well, Steve.
Yeah, please, we have to stay on that because that's been a problem that Tom and Warren have been telling us about, we know about for so many years. They have to start taking steps.
Also, Monday night at Wynwood Gardens Civic, Alfonso Lopez, the DEP commissioner, will be there. And I've been coordinating with Jamie and Team Raga, so we'll be sure to remind him to check back all the same. But he'll be in Woodside Monday night if anyone wants to come on out.
Sorry.
So the original letter, which requested DEP to come, had very specific, really requested them to give a kind of district-wide assessment of what capital work they're planning, where they think what their priorities are in the district, to kind of be open with us about where the biggest problems are in the district. And I think we still need that. It gives us a framework to look at all these different projects. I'm really glad they got to Blissville and had a good walk in Blissville, but I still think most of us are kind of in the dark about what they're planning district-wide. And it would help us to prioritize the budget, when we make budget requests, and it would give us a context for for evaluating what's needed in the Long Island City, in the 1 LIC area as well. So I was pretty disappointed when I watched, I missed the meeting in January, but I watched the video, and he really provided none of the information that we requested. So it would probably take them some work to actually put together that kind of presentation, but I think it's probably worth asking again for them to come to the board to talk about the whole district.
Are you requesting the whole board, them to come to the full board? Yeah. Okay, so
Well,
we'll have them in our committee, and we'll say that's what we want, and if they don't give it to us, then we'll say we want you at the full board with that information.
They could come to a joint meeting of environmental and land use if the full board doesn't want to spend the time. I don't care. I mean.
No, I was just curious.
Yeah.
I'm saying, I think we'll have them come to our committee, and then I think, Debbie, if you can request that they give us that information, and if they don't, then we'll ask them to come to the full board with it.
And we can reference, Deb, that original letter, which I think was pretty clear.
So you don't want the mic. All right, I think we got it.
Thanks, everybody.
We're exactly at the 3-hour mark. There's 14 minutes of committee reports to go if we take 2 minutes each. So let's speed through this. Land use, Christine. Okay, Carisha. Sorry.
We didn't have any actions to vote on at land use. We did get a presentation from Chaya, if I'm saying that right, CDC, about this pilot project on basements, which is happening in our in our district. And we did send a letter really kind of clarifying questions that we had, or requesting that the study be done in conjunction with the community so that it doesn't negatively impact either tenants or owners that would like to improve their properties, but actually supports them in that process.
Yeah, awesome.
That's it.
Awesome, thank you. Transportation.
Thank you. Yeah, not much to report either. We heard from the businesses along Review Avenue, and they have concerns about the Blissville Greenway and the protection going in Review Avenue. So we let them talk to us. We gave them a lot of time. They talked. They gave us their case. They gave us their recommendations, what their design person thinks should happen. We heard them, and we couldn't really ask DOT about it because it's an open court case right now. So we're letting DOT and kind of prove themselves in court that it's going to work, because there were concerns that it wouldn't work along an industrial truck route with trucks turning. So we're hearing that out, but we're also emphatically in support of the Blissville Greenway, protected bike lanes, protected bike infrastructure, and especially because we always talk about here the lack of open space and the lack of places to go. A beautiful greenway stretching from bridge to bridge and all the way up the waterfront would be wonderful. So we are in support of that, but we do want to make sure DOT dots all their I's in regards to that, and they typically do. Other things going on in the transportation world, we don't talk about it very much, but the open streets rules, you can apply to have an open street as long as I think you are in charge of it. The deadline for this summer is March 31st. So if you want an open street and you want to be part of that and volunteer to maintain it, March 31st is the deadline. And I hope that we can see more of those, especially in places where we don't have a lot of green space. I am reminded that we marched in a parade on Skillman Avenue, and it was very nice to see the entire neighborhood and community out together in the street without fear of traffic, in a place where we could congregate. And lacking green space in Sunnyside, Long Island City, Woodside, we have to remember that there are alternative uses for our sidewalks and streets, such as that. That's it. One last reminder, mta.info/accessibility to request accessibility improvements at your MTA station. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, hi, Sheila.
Sheila.
Hi, Riley. Since accessibility was on the end of that report, just ask if you guys can follow up on the possible vouchers for seniors as opposed to Access-a-Ride. Because public transportation, it can be really hard for people getting around in wheelchairs and stuff, but Access-a-Ride is also a disaster. So, and we want to take care of them. So, they had a program, and this for a long time, where they gave vouchers for seniors to take, where they had agreements with certain cab companies, and you could take, and some cities have you get so many a month, or senior citizens get, or people on disability get so many a month, so that they can work with certain taxis to go to their doctor's appointments and stuff, so they're not stuck standing outside waiting for an hour in rain or snow for Access-a-Ride, or left behind because Access-a-Ride says they came and nobody was there. So the voucher system really is a better system for seniors and disabled, but and it is in place in other cities, but we need more of it here. Thanks. Thank you.
Health and Human Services.
Hi, so for our February meeting, we heard from Evie Litwack, who is the founder and CEO of Witness to Mass Incarcerations. It's a 501c3 organization that fosters the economic independence of formerly incarcerated individuals by providing vocational training and then also like encouraging them to have their own businesses. And there is a link to the presentation in our newsletter. Very riveting, her testimony and then her discussion about her organization. And our next meeting is this Monday, 6 p.m. virtual, and we're going to have a presentation from Dr. Lisa Foreman about measles.
Awesome. Thank you. Carisha, you don't have to run right this time.
Actually, I do, because Eric chaired last month.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can just a quick update. During the Arts and Cultural Affairs Committee, we talked about the status of the Bliss Theater, and that Dirk McCall from Sunnyside Shines was present and talked about pursuing a conversation with the developer that has bought the space, so we can begin to have a conversation with them about their disposition, what they're planning to do, and ultimately, hopefully, we can advocate for there being the art space in whatever they ultimately develop. In the meantime, we are still interested in pursuing cultural preservation efforts. And another thing that Dirk talked about was Sunnyside Shines applied to the Historic Districts Council for Sunnyside to be designated among the 6 to Celebrate program. And he's let me know that we can announce that Sunnyside will be selected for that designation. Which is a great opportunity for us to think about preservation efforts in the neighborhood holistically. And it comes with a little bit of resources and support for our advocacy efforts, and it's a great thing. So stay tuned for more about that.
And is that your first?
Am I allowed to give an update on that too? Because this was, I just had a meeting this week. Quick update on the Bliss Theater. I met with the developer, and they are not even quite at the design process yet because the current tenants, which is the Jehovah Witnesses, they're going to be using the space still for about another year. So they're still about 3 to 4 months out from even contracting a design person, I'm sorry if that's the wrong word, but they were very open to working with the community board and the community in creating a arts and culture shared space in their design, to include in their design. And while I was at it, I also requested that they consider more 2 and 3 bedrooms if they are going to be doing something. But more to come, but very positive news that this developer is open to discussion and wants to be a part of the community and understands the importance of that site, even though there's probably going to be changes to it. So,
That's kind of part of what good looks like, right? Someone who wants to come to the table.
And shout out to Eric for all of the work of the Historic Commission and the landmarking. And
Michael has a question.
Thanks. Yeah, just a quick question. I'm curious, based on, because you talked to the person who purchased that site, are they interested in we've historically, I think it was my first board meeting, I heard Christine say that there's a Wendy's next door on a massive parking lot, and maybe there's some, transfer of development rights situation that could be beneficial to everybody. Did that come up at all?
Yes, I forgot about that. That was a step before the meeting. We actually talked, Christine and I and Dirk and Eric, there was some conversations about, and we even talked to Indie Space, which is a local organization in CB1 that actually does broker deals with artistic spaces, arts and cultural spaces. The idea of transferring air rights over Bliss Theater over to the Wendy's site was not something that they deemed possible, even if the Wendy's owners were open to it, which they were not. So it kind of left us in this position of, if we're going to have a dialogue, in that window of opportunity, it would need to be kind of forward thinking in terms of to be just included in the plan, as opposed to focusing our efforts in thinking about air rights transfer and saving of the space, unfortunately.
Thanks. Danielle.
Thanks. So we met on city services about a month ago. It was the night of a not real snowstorm, but we thought it was going to snow, so we had about 30 applications. We went very quickly, but it was great because we had a bunch of renewals for local businesses that we love, including Little Chef, Little Cafe, which many people on this board were in support of, and they were renewed happily. It's one of my favorite places. So, but it was a good meeting. This coming week, I think Steve is going to a grand opening of the Hunters Point, or the dispensary in Long Island City. That is opening. Yay, got approved by OCM after we approved it. Yay. And our next meeting is on this coming Wednesday, the 11th or 12th, not sure what day that is, at 6:30. And I encourage you all to attend if you're interested in liquor licenses or cannabis license. Yes. Thank you.
And the focaccia at Little Chef, I just had it on Monday. It's great. Small business?
Small business didn't meet. I think we had a glitch. But our next meeting is April the 22nd, I think. Is that the Tuesday? April 22nd, yep.
Awesome.
At 5 p.m.
And not March 25th, as is stated here.
I think it says cancel, right?
Oh.
Oh, on my calendar it says canceled. No.
Freudian cancellation.
No, I have it linked up to the Google Calendar, so I'll double check.
Okay, cool.
But I'll check with Debbie and then we'll publicize.
Yep. And Tanya and Patrick, to close us out for engagement and inclusion. Tanya?
Sure. I'll be brief. I want to thank everyone that joined the St. Patrick's for All Parade. I know the weather dropped significantly, and everyone was there so happy and sharing to the community why volunteer matters. So thank you so much for everyone that was there representing us. Also, I just want to remind you to please join the newsletter. And our next meeting is going to be on the 25th at 6 p.m. It happens the fourth Tuesday of the month. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Motion to adjourn. Everybody seconded. All right.